Penguin, you do the introductions because apparently my ability to speak is slowly getting destroyed by the headset pushing on my stitches in my head.
Alright, well, hopefully you survive before your... I hope the games end before your brain ends up leaking out onto the keyboard, because I don't like solo casting that much. But in the top right spawn location of Yonsu, spawning on the snowy side, we have the red Protoss player representing Team XMG. It is Todd. And spawning in the bottom left spawn location on the grassy fields of Yonsu, we have our blue Zerg player representing Team Fnatic. It is Miniraser.
So, these two battling up against each other, statistically, I think the closest game, or the closest series that we've had so far. About a 6% advantage to Todd, which isn't much at all, considering most of the series we've had have been a bit more substantial than that.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, we do have Gateway versus Pool first here, so it's been kind of more and more common in on the Korean scene to go hatch first pretty much all the time versus Protoss, but Miniraser are going to be opting for the safer Pool opening. Todd also is kind of somebody who I'm really looking forward to casting battles. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because he does a lot of very unique stuff. He often has his own style, especially in his PvZ. I remember back at DreamHack Summer last year when some people were starting to play Swarm Hosts, and the way he was playing against Swarm Hosts was just with Immortals and mass Gateway units, and he was actually doing fairly well with that.
I do remember that, actually.
Stuff like that.
I think I actually cast one of his games back at that DreamHack as one of the community streams, and he was doing some very interesting stuff, which, logically, if you put down some of the things that Todd throws out on paper, and you're like, I wonder if this would work, people would be like, no. No, Maddles, stop being stupid. But when Todd does it, it does work. And then it's just nice to see.
We do have a gas coming up here from Miniraser. He's also got an expansion up. And, well, he's just getting that gas, I would assume, just for speed. That's 99% of the time the reason of that gas here, especially versus Protoss. He could be pulling guys off gas, I would assume, as soon as he hits 100. Next is going to be coming on down here for Todd. And he's only got one gas, also very, very standard. Everything is looking pretty standard so far, Maddles, with the exception of maybe that gas.
I'm pretty sure that every game we've had, with maybe one or two exceptions, at least game one of the series so far of Challenger, has been a very standard opening though. And it's actually quite a good move to make opening standard in the first game of a series, because being a best of 5, whichever way map 1 goes really doesn't necessarily put you at too much of a disadvantage. You still have that map to spare, you can level it out pretty quick. But playing it standard means that you get to flesh out what your opponent's going to be doing, where they might be vulnerable, their playstyles they're looking at the moment, any kind of timings they like to do. So in the next potential 4 games, you can try and exploit that to your advantage.
Very true. And now, we do have just a double gateway follow-up here for Todd. So just going to be looking at those 3 gates, not going to be going with a 4th gateway or anything like that. Sometimes we will see people hide a 4th gateway and try to make their opponents expect less units than are actually coming, commit pretty heavily to that, and then try to get a kill or a cancel on the 3rd. Not going to be what we see out of Todd. We also have a pretty early Roach Warren coming in from Miniraser here. 5 minutes 20. And with some Lings on the way, these Lings are probably just to look around for some pylons. He doesn't actually have any on the map right now, except for a single one. And with the aggression coming his way from Todd, the Lings are going to help a lot. But the Roach Warren, especially with 14 Lings already in production, is a bit of an interesting touch.
Could signal some counter-aggression attempt from Miniraser. He does still have one lone Zergling up here, actually in Todd's base, getting a whole heap of information. All of the information actually. Knows that it's still only 3 gates. No 4th gate has been seen. And that gives a good indicator to Miniraser of what kind of pressure is going to be coming through here. Warp gate tech has finished. Sentry still warping in from one of those gateways.
Oh, the Sentry!
That's a problem. That Sentry goes down.
Actually, with 2 Lings in, they can continue to go to work on these couple of probes. And, well, a Zealot being warped on in is already going to be worked on by these Lings. So the Zealot may well fall. Nope, not going to be able to fall. But, oh, no, that Sentry may actually go down as well. 2 Lings and a head-up fight do kill a Sentry. But the Lings were already a little bit injured. Mothership Core comes in. The Sentry will be saved. Overall, though, not only did that pull Todd completely back, killed up a Sentry. Really nice little play from Miniraser there. And now he's going after the probe. Kills the probe that was on the map. He's got vision of that pylon. Looks like he's going to go for it. But there are Zealots being warped in, so we can't quite get that. But with Roaches coming up, he will kill that off as well.
a robotics facility being produced behind this for the XMG player is going to have this shut down, but it's only a couple of zealots committed to it so far. It was the sentry loss that was really the big problem for Todd in this early game. Miniraser's third base, though, a quarter through, he's adding in some more gases, and he's just going to be teching up quite steadily. Got a decent amount down on the field, though, with 6 roaches and 9 lings, so that's a bit of wasted supply since he can't really go on the offensive with that, because it just won't be enough to break into the natural.
Yeah, at this point, he played very, very safe, Miniraser did, to be able to get all those units out to make sure they didn't take any damage from the aggression that came his way. But as a result, with the even worker counts, he's not in the best place in the world, but with the third base nearing completion, he's not in a terrible spot either, especially with the lair on the way here. Only on 3 gases right now. The big question for me is what's Todd going to do? Is he going to look to expand or go for an Immortal all-in here? And with the Chrono on the Immortals, I'm leaning towards all-in, and he is going to be adding on additional gateways here in the back of his main.
None of this has been scouted as of yet by Miniraser either. He does move an Overlord forward, but doesn't manage to see that robotic facility, nor did the Overlord that was sacrificed into the main see anything since there was no gateways down. So this leaves a bit of a question mark for Miniraser about what's happening. So he's going to have to bring these lings forward just to confirm they sneak in, actually. That is a bit of a misposition there from Todd. And this is actually a decent number of Zerglings into the main base. They scout everything and get a little bit of damage done.
Yeah, they killed off 1 worker. They may kill off a second one, but not likely here. They will continue to sort of go ring around the rosy, try to survive as long as possible.
Oh, there's a sentry on its own.
Oh,
no, it's
fine. Won't get the sentry most likely. But the most important thing now is that he knows exactly what's coming. He has a lot more time to prepare for this than he would have otherwise had. And now, well, it's also delaying the move out here as Todd is just continuing to run around trying to kill off that ling. Finally he gets the ling. He's adding on 1 additional gateway here to go up to a total of 7 after those 3 are about to complete. Looks like he's going to go with 2 Immortals and a Warp Prism. What is there to deal with this? Miniraser has a lot of lings, not a great amount of creep spread, but he's adding on a couple of spines here as well. And 19 roaches already out. Roach speed is not yet done, which is a bit annoying, but there's a huge counter attack ready here at the outside what would be the third of Todd.
And this is the thing, with those Zerglings getting in, of course Miniraser's had more than enough time to prepare. 2 spines already placed, he's got a good number of roaches, as you said, ready to counter-attack. And I think there should be more than enough in order for Miniraser to be able to defend this push. There's not that many sentries. Couple of zealots getting warped in to defend, but they're not going to be any match for this many roaches. In comes Miniraser. Pylon goes down, depowering that robotic facility, forcing a mass recall. And that shuts down this push anyway. So Miniraser gets a bit of damage done, prevents taking any damage. May lose a couple of roaches here. Those are good force kills by Todd. But all in all, Miniraser up heavily in supply and in a really nice spot.
Picked off 2 sentries there as well. 1 was out by the third. 1 was focused down with the recall. So overall, Miniraser didn't take too much of an uneven trade there. And now, moving forward with roach speed done, a ton of lings. This is a lot of units here for Miniraser. If Todd engages properly, he should be able to hold this. But the third base is under assault now.
That should definitely get cancelled. There's too much stuff.
Lings at the main!
Todd is just getting
really
ripped apart.
disastrous for Todd. He gets the cancel off, but well, he's trying to split his units as best as possible. A bunch of the sentries down to the third are going down. The lings are now moving back towards the natural. That's a bit of a misclick by the looks of it, but Todd's units here at what was the third are being absolutely overrun. Miniraser up by about 50 supply here, trying to push on forward. 1 of the Immortals was picked off. Actually, it looks like all of the Immortals were picked off. Doesn't look like there's any Immortals left, and that really means that this army is not very scary for Todd. And the Photon Overcharge will allow him to survive for now, but Miniraser has Burrow almost done. He has Tunneling Claws almost done. He has Enduring Locusts on the way for the Swarm Host that he's inevitably going to be going for if Todd can survive, and Todd is looking in a disastrous spot right now.
It's worth noting that there isn't an observer out either. So, with Tunneling Claws now completed, if these roaches do burrow, there's no detection for them. So, that's going to be a problem. Just more Immortals frantically trying to get pumped out by Todd in the moment because he needs those in order to hold off these roaches. There's a massive supply lead for Miniraser. Let's not beat around the bush. Todd is going to have to pull off a bit of a miracle if he's going to hold on here. And if he does hold on, as you mentioned, Swarm Hosts are incoming. And he has no form of splash yet. This Dark Shrine is kind of Todd's last hope. That can he get some great damage done on the off chance that Miniraser has no detection and doesn't build an Overseer.
Oh, we have a little bit of a drop coming into the main to try to do some damage. There's 1 spine there. These are just Zealots. Dark Shrine is not yet done, so no DTs. And he's going to be warded off with this. The Zealots are going to be picked on up, or one of them is at least. There we go. 1 goes down. I think Miniraser wasn't aware that there wasn't actually an observer on the map, because had he known that, he could have simply burrowed under that army and killed Todd and won the game right there. But Todd surviving, not having to take that engagement, and now he does have a couple of Immortals out. He's got some good power units. Still no observers, though, and that's really going to be annoying, especially with this burrowed Link here at the third.
As you said, though,
Oh, he unburrows it.
as you said right at the start of the series, though, Penguin, Todd has had some creative play in dealing with Swarm hosts, using a lot of Immortals and a lot of Gateway units. So, whereas sometimes you might sit there and say, okay, Todd's in a huge amount of problems because Swarm hosts are coming and he doesn't have any splash, no High Templar, no Colossi. He has shown that he can hold off with this sort of unit composition for a while. But it's not going to be indefinite, not with this
Oh,
many.
wow. 4 DTs, no Overseers, no Spores. This could actually do quite a bit of damage here for our Protoss player, moving into one DT into the natural, 1 into the third, and 2 into the main. There is a Spore in the main, so those 2 are going to be shut down pretty easily. But the other ones are doing a good amount of damage. They're actually not focus firing properly here, so no real worker kills going down, just a couple of them so far. And that could have done a lot more damage than it ended up doing, actually, I feel.
The natural base, though, did get... Oh, no, it didn't, because all the drones got pulled. So, yeah, that didn't do too much for Todd, unfortunately. But he did buy himself some more time. He's trying to get up that third as quickly as he can. He needs that extra economy. Also adding in charge, a few more Immortals, but still no sign of any splash damage. And really with what is now 13 Swarm hosts down, it's kind of getting to the point where I do feel you have to have some kind of splash to be able to defend against that if they get in a good position.
One thing that is going well for Todd is that Miniraser is stuck on 3 bases. He did just try to take a 4th base, but the DT shredded that drone quite quickly. And while the army composition is much better for Miniraser, I would say, and while Miniraser is still definitely ahead while he's almost maxed out, not having a 4th is going to be really annoying for him. It's going to sort of weigh on him, and looks like he is finally going to be able to secure the 4th down to the bottom right as the Roaches make sure that the units that were there are lifted on up. And, well, drone is going to be able to pick that up, and, the 4th base rather, will be put down in the bottom right, but that's a 17-minute 4th. That's a pretty late 4th here for Miniraser.
Todd, with Robotics Bay in production, soon to be coming through. Another drop coming out, but with the Spores, with the Queens, with the Burrow Roaches now coming through, those Zealots aren't going to be able to achieve that much. Resources lost shows us that Todd losing about, well, just shy of 3,000 more resources than that of Miniraser. Significant. He's also trying to drop into the main base, though, to get some more damage done. Sees the Viper, which is quite nice, but there's a lot of static defense out for the Zerg player, helping to defend against this. But Zealots do fare quite well up against Spines.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, Burrow doesn't help.
Yeah, well, the sentries did try to force field at the ramp. It was a cute little move, but Todd lost a lot of sentries, 4 sentries there that were trying to force field that ramp just because of the tunneling clause being done. And now, though, Todd going to try to move into the third by the looks of it. Good force fields going down, zoning out the Locusts, but he can't push in. There's just too much there. 20 Swarm hosts.
A second robotics facility coming through and a 4th base just started for Todd. So he's going to be aiming to get out a good number of Colossi. That will help him start sweeping through the Locusts and manage them a bit better, especially when per wave with 20 Swarm hosts there's 40 Locusts every time they spawn. That is a lot of damage output. Their upgrades are 1-1 for the moment. 2-2 is just started. Meanwhile, Todd is about to finish up his +2 ground weapons. No armor on his side though, so upgrade advantage will be there for Miniraser once his 2-2 is finished. But for the moment, it's just looking so good for Miniraser. That DT wasn't on hold command, does now go through, but with a quick burrow and still no observer. That's annoying.
That really is annoying.
Oh,
I'm
the
shocked
observer
that he
is
still
coming
has no observer out.
He
He's
does
trying
have
to
one
make
out.
right? Oh, okay. But the Roaches is going to get into the main here, do some damage. Not a ton, but they're just being an added annoyance, an added pest here. And Todd, he really doesn't want to have to be dealing with this stuff right now. And now he's going to have harass going down on his 3rd base here as the Roaches fire on up from the low ground. It looks like they will be making their way on over to try to focus down a couple of these workers on in here. And won't be able to do too much, but Miniraser just throwing away a couple of units that he's just resupplying with better units anyway. He's getting additional Swarm hosts. He's getting additional Vipers.
My concern for Miniraser is he had a really big lead in the mid game, but he didn't really jump on it to end out the map then. He's kind of sat back and tried to get up into this kind of late game death pool army. But what that's allowed Todd to do is take this 3rd and 4th base. His worker count is actually 1 above that of Miniraser, and his army composition is starting to look a bit more solid. The supply differences will level out as Miniraser is nearly maxed.
The biggest problem with this army composition for Todd, though, is that generally against Swarm Host, if you're going for a Colossus-based composition, that kind of says you want to go for a timing push. He's going to be able to get a couple of Swarm Hosts for free, that's really nice, but usually with this army composition, you're saying, okay, I'm going to lose some units when I engage your army, but I'm going to kill you with that push, so it's fine. If you want to be playing the super long game, you want to have a different army composition. You want to have Sky Toss, but a couple of abducts on the Colossus, but there's nothing really there to kill it off. Looks like this 4th base is going to get absolutely shredded by Todd. Nice moves by him, and he may well recall out after this. Good abduct, though, killing off another Colossus.
The Mothership Core sitting right at the back, but I think you're right. An abduct would be very nice. Another Colossus will unfortunately die. Those abducts from Miniraser being right on the money. There's the mass recall. And Miniraser is now a base down to Todd. The supply is basically the same. Plus 3 ground weapons nearly completed for Todd, whereas 3-3 obviously can't start, or hasn't started yet, for Miniraser. And so he's, again, just letting that upgrade lead slip away from him.
Yeah, but he still has a massive bank. I think at this point he's just looking at that and saying, okay, what do I want to do? I can kind of do anything with this money. What do I want to do? And he's making a few more Swarm Hosts to replace those that went down. He's going to be going up to 25 total Swarm Hosts, +3/+3 starting, and that's actually a significant amount of his bank, especially with these 4 Infestors that are coming on out now. But once again, I'm going to reiterate that Todd is trying to play the late game with a Colossus-based army, which is just not really what you want to do because the Vipers trade so well against them. He has no Stargates on the map yet, and that's going to be a big problem for him going forward.
Also though, Miniraser, he doesn't have a Spire down, and the reason that might seem like an odd thing to say, he's not going for any Spire units, is he doesn't have the option for that Mutalisk Remax.
Or the Broodlord transition.
Or the Broodlord transition. So that's a couple of things that Miniraser could look to add in shortly. But choosing not to at the moment, and that's somewhat due to the fact that he's only sitting on 6 gases due to this 4th getting taken out, which means that he doesn't have that much gas in the bank. So it's not even a viable way for him to run at the moment.
Yeah, he used a lot of the gas bank on the additional upgrades, and now 5 Infestors, a bit of which is just coming out. He's going up to a total of 29 Swarm Hosts, too, which is just almost a snoot number of Swarm Hosts. It's more than you usually see on the map, and now we do have Todd trying to get a little bit aggressive here. He is going to take some damage, losing a couple of Immortals. Really good abducts there by Miniraser. And, well, he's continuing to whittle away at this army. The Protoss has lost about 3,500 more resources than the Zerg at this point, and he can kind of afford it because he's on more bases with the 5th base coming on up, but still doesn't have the ideal army composition, I think. Some players do like to play the Colossus style, but from the Zergs that I've spoken to, they have a lot more trouble late game against Sky Toss than this kind of composition. And
drops coming in, Penguin. This is going to be really nice. We've got just the one lone DT here. There is an Overseer, but the hatchery at the 4th base getting focused with another big wave of Warpins. This should be taken out very easily, and Miniraser is still contained on just those 3 bases.
That was a really, really nice play there from Todd there to take that out with just mineral income. And one thing that is going to be... You don't need a ton of bases as a Zerg playing Swarm Hosts, but you do need 4. 4 is really where you want to be sitting. And I mean, you don't need 5, 6, 7 like Zergs will want to get in the super late game with other compositions, but this is just really, really going to be tough for him if he just can't get that 4th base up. Still, though, he's not actually losing anything, really, except for the hatcheries. So the bank for Miniraser is still continuing to climb, but now we see Todd adding on 2 Stargates. He is looking to go into the later game now. He's getting ready to go for that switch into the Sky Toss, and with a significantly superior economy, it's going to be a little tough for Miniraser to deal with that.
I can't help but feel in this game, Miniraser missed such a big opportunity in the mid-game. He could have won this, in my opinion, especially when there was no Observer out for Todd and he had Burrow Roaches. He could have just moved in there, and kind of paying the price for being so passive at the moment is Todd has caught up. And through just continual multi-prong attacks, continual drops, which he's attempting another one in the 4th, has been able to keep denying bases. That 5th wasn't cancelled either from Miniraser, which is just adding more to the resources lost, considering there's 29 Swarm Hosts down now. There's only about 4,500 more resources lost by Todd, which is not actually that significant.
Especially when Miniraser has a really significant gas bank, and usually in the later game you'll look at the gas bank and say that's what really matters because the mineral income is just so much more. But that's not the case right now for Miniraser, because we have only 1 mining base here mineral-wise, and it's almost depleted. He finally does have the 4th base reestablished, so he will continue having a good mineral income, but he doesn't really have the giant mineral bank that he would otherwise want because he just cannot secure those bases for long. Although with this much static defense going up, this fourth base should be permanently secured now.
A couple of additional, yeah, as you said, a couple of additional spines coming through, just a couple. The double spire also now on its way out for Miniraser. I'm so glad to see that. I really think that perhaps if he'd had that earlier, he would have had a way to spend that bank. But the trouble is, it's the minerals, as you mentioned, they're so low. And spending things like these spines is usually fine in the late game because you've got so many minerals, because you're up at 5, 6 bases as a Zerg player for the gas, that you've got so many minerals that chucking down spines everywhere is not a concern to you. But Miniraser actually is spending significant percentages of his minerals on this static defense just to try and keep the base.
Yeah, the bigger thing as well is that he's spending a lot on the spines, as you mentioned, to hold the base. But he does have 27 spores up, and basically, as the game progresses to the super late game, the spores are going to be really, really important, because not only can they pick off observers if they wander a little bit too far forward, but they can also pick off colossi if they're abducted into them, because colossi count as air units. And also, if the sky transition does come later for Todd, they can also do wonders against that. But Todd opted to just stick with the ground army, adding on 7 gateways, which I really, really, really like, because gateways are obviously a way that you can reinforce super quickly, and he's going to go up to 21, which is 42 supply instantly. Hallucinated Archons, too. I like this. He's going to go for a bit of a push out here. The Archons at the front that are hallucinations are going to be tanking quite a bit of the shots here. And while they do take twice as much damage as other units, that's still damage that's not being dealt to those real units.
Mass more hallucinations. And of course, these Locusts, not able to tell the difference between them. A couple of Storms now being used. They take out Locusts very effectively. And so Todd, he's pushing on forward. Miniraser and Todd equal in supply for the moment. The spores, as you said, chipping away at some of those colossi, but not getting any kills yet. There's some abducts though. That's looking a lot better. But still, continually storming very effectively. Todd pushes on through.
Todd still has a very, very large bank. Finally, the abducts coming on down, but a lot of the spores have already been picked off. One of the colossi will fall. Some of the swarm hosts are going to be able to have their locusts focus down at those colossi. One colossus survives. Nope, down it goes. And overall, that was a good trade for Miniraser. It looked like it was going to be really, really good for Todd for a while, but the swarm hosts are just too far back, and they didn't actually take any swarm host losses. We saw, I think, a couple of Vipers went down, a good number of Infestors too, but not anywhere near as many resources worth of units as we saw go down for Todd, who's now over 10,000 resources lost behind.
Okay, so upgrades. We haven't spoken about those for a while, Penguin. 3-3 is done at the moment for Miniraser, whereas 3-2 is completed for Todd. He's also adding in the +1 air weapons and also the +3 Protoss shields. Now, for some people might be saying, now why is he getting shields +3 up before he gets down his +3 ground armor? And the reason is because he's moving in towards a sky toss composition, ideally late game. So the shields benefit the air units, but also he's got, or did have, quite a few Archons in the mix. So getting the additional shield upgrades obviously benefits those too.
And of course, he already has 2 of the armor upgrades.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a really smart point about how he already has all the armor upgrades, so he has to get shields, but he doesn't. So I guess I'm wrong. We're just gonna ignore that. But we have 3 more Stargates coming in now. So as you pointed out, the Sky Toss transition is gonna become a reality here. This is not just for with 2 Stargates. I think 2 Stargates earlier were just to deal with potential Muta remixes, which is something that Miniraser does like to do. But when he's adding on up to 5 of these now, I think we'll start to be seeing more Sky units come out of Todd finally. And he does have another bit of a Warp Prism drop coming up into the bottom right.
Nice little blink up here towards the 5th base. That doesn't have any static defense there as of yet. That means the Stalkers should be able to take it down pretty quickly. No focus fire at first, but now just chipping away quite fast. That hatchery will fall. 1 base picked off. Meanwhile, a couple of Zealots trying to get warped in here, but obviously with a whole heap of Spine Crawlers, not going to be too effective. I'd say this is pretty good. Miniraser is looking to go for potentially that Mutalisk switch though, with the double air upgrades coming through. But
the main is having to deal with a giant bit of a warp in here. The Zealots getting caught in a bit of a single file choke there behind the gas, but now they are going after the Spires. I don't think they'll get both of them, but they may well get one. No, the transfuse is going on down. It looks like both Spires should survive.
But the fact that these Spires obviously are upgrading, are getting transfused so religiously, gives Todd that idea that, okay, we could be seeing
drop at the 3rd.
Oh my goodness, Penguin! Oh, they cancelled. I'm so sad now. Damn it. Todd for a second made carriers, and then changed his mind to Tempest.
Carriers are a very viable option in this matchup. We have Titan, who likes to go carrier-based compositions quite a bit, but generally, if you're going carriers, you want to do it a little earlier than now. If you're only going into the sky composition. Now you're going to want Tempests out. And Tempests are a little bit more versatile than the Carriers, which sounds kind of silly because Tempests are not very versatile, but they're more versatile than Carriers are. So opting for the Tempests here, 5 at a time, +2 air armor coming on out now, as well as +2 air attack. So double air upgrades for both players coming out. And Tempest's going to be nice. They're going to allow him to chip away at the spores, at the static defense here. And, well, right now, Miniraser's still having trouble getting a mineral bank going because he still keeps having that 5th base denied. So while he has 4,400 gas, he doesn't have the minerals to spend it.
Do you know what surprises me, Penguin? Is that
What?
back at, if you'd asked me at about, I think it was roughly 10 minutes, how long this game was going to go on for, I would have said about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
After that,
If you'd asked me around 11 minutes 30 when there was no observer and tunneling clause was about to finish, I would have said about 11 minutes 45. But
we're now saying at 36 minutes.
and it's a pretty even game. Todd was
It
pretty
is.
far behind, and he's really pulled his way back in here, and it's a very impressive. It's a testament to how good of a player he really is. And nice blink does avoid the fungal there. It looked like it was going to be a pretty disastrous fungal for him, but able to dodge that, and now only one Stalker going down. These Templar will survive.
These roaches are getting a nice little bit of damage at the 6th base of Todd, I want to say. So,
Yep.
a couple of probes going down there, but Todd, he is still up at 63 harvesters. I don't suspect that he'll try and add too many more in. Instead, he'll value the additional supply that he can use in his army. A couple of Corruptors chilling down there. Going to be able to take out that War Prism, shutting out some of the harassment. The Spire is quite damaged. The Locusts are in a nice position, though, unfortunately. Okay, there we go. Todd retargeting the damaged Spire. Transfuses are going to go down. It should be able to stay alive, but only with 134 HP.
Brings another Queen up from the natural, though, to transfuse it, which I think is a really nice decision here from Miniraser. Those upgrades did just begin, and it's going to be pretty critical if he wants to have 3-3 done as soon as possible. Meanwhile, we have a big push coming in from Todd once again here between the 3rd and 4th bases. Locust's going to be able to ward this off for now, though, and Todd not able to do any real damage. Fungal going nowhere near the army. Not sure what that was. Probably queued up from earlier, but now we have a couple more Zealots warped in. Going to try to kill off that Spire, but it's just not going to happen. There's Locusts there to greet it.
Now, if we look at the resources lost, 30,000 to 16,000 in favor of Miniraser. More what we'd be expecting when a Zerg player is going for Swarm Host. Late game, they just have such a huge amount of, well, free units, basically, where they can just keep trading. Literally, not even basically yet. So, with this, Todd is throwing away a lot of resources, but most of it is actually minerals. And if we look at his bank, it still looks relatively healthy. He's got the 3-3 air upgrades now coming through. He's adding in some more Void Rays. He's got the Tempest. And this is starting to look a fairly scary composition.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the exact numbers, we've got 9 Tempests, 2 Void Rays, 16 Stalkers, 4 Colossi, 6 Templars. So there's a good amount of splash damage on the ground between the Storms and the Colossi to deal with the high numbers of Locusts. 29 Swarm Hosts are still the number, so that's a very, very high number. We don't usually see players go up that high with Swarm Hosts unless you're talking about, I believe it's pretty much Stefano and Snoot that like to go that high as far as I know. But usually you'll see people stop around 20 highest, so kind of interesting. Blink Stalker's going to blink on into the 5th base here once again, and there's not really that much here to deal with it, except now a couple of Swarm Hosts are going to send their Locusts on in. But the blink is going to make these guys mobile enough to potentially pick up this hatchery once again. Todd, though, investing a lot in this. Is he going to get it? He really needs to get this to make it worthwhile. I think he should, though. Only a couple of transfuses left, and yep, the hatchery will go down. Todd losing all of those units, but it's going to allow him to remax on more ideal units, more powerful units in his maxed out composition now. And what's he going to be adding in? Looks like he's just warping in. I actually missed what he warped in, so... oh, yeah, that's right. Miniraser that maxed out. Void Rays. Cool.
This is really good, especially when Corruptors are coming down for Miniraser. Miniraser has the 3-3 air upgrades as well, so both of them are maxed out there. Miniraser also potentially has the option to go for a huge swell of Mutalisks. Doesn't have that much minerals yet, but hey, he's getting there. And we are getting into the ultra late stages of PvZ now.
Mothership. It's about time.
I know.
When you're going for a Sky Toss army, Mothership is great to have. It really, really helps you against the Locusts, because the Locusts, if you go primarily air, they don't have much to target except for the Templars. So you really need to have your Templar survive, because they're very expensive units. And the Mothership, making them completely invisible, does allow for that to happen, which is pretty nice. And now we have 3 more Stargates coming up. So Todd looking to go up to 8 Stargates. That's a little bit crazy, Maddles.
It's a little bit crazy, but it's a little bit awesome as well, because Todd has a huge bank. So if he loses any of this army, he needs to get it back up very fast. Todd's 6th base is taking a little bit of damage now from Locust. They're consistently moving forward. That Nexus unlikely to last too much longer, but Todd just slowly moving his way through. That mothership is nearly done, 3/4 of the way through. And
It takes a good 100 seconds, I think, to finish up. That's a very, very long
It does. It's 100
upgrade.
seconds, exactly.
Yep. I think 100 seconds is, like, with the exception of upgrades, the longest it actually takes to make anything.
Yeah, and Ultralisk 55. Yeah, probably is.
Fire takes 100 seconds. Hive takes 100 seconds. Command Center, I think, takes 100 seconds. Nexus, too.
Oh, I thought you meant pure units. Okay.
No, I mean anything except for upgrades.
It is.
Yep.
Someone,
Fun fact.
if we're wrong, someone would have definitely tweeted us by now to tell us it.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Should be anyway.
All right, well, 5th base, or the 6th base is dead. We have the Locust is going to continue trying to pick away at this army, but with the mothership there, there's really nothing they can do. A little bit of damage goes down on that Archon, but with the shields, they're going to regenerate very, very quickly here.
Probe's
Another
trying to
observer
die.
coming on out. There's actually no observers on the map, so kind of interesting. Now we actually have a good abduct going down on that Tempest. It looks like it will survive. No, abducted once again. We have 16 corruptors out on the map, which is a good number. Oracles are going to be very important here. He has 3 oracles. He's going to want a revelation. He has done that already, but he's going to want to continuously revelation on those units so that he can fire with the full range of the Tempest Armada.
Still, we see a good amount of damage coming out from these
Ooh,
Colossi.
really, really, really nice play, actually. Does allow Todd
Oh, nice
to...
abduct on the mothership.
Yep.
Gonna go down. Boom.
That hurts. It looked really good for him at first. He was able to feed back a couple of the Vipers there and able to get a good storm off on the Corruptors. But now with no invisibility, he has to retreat. There's just too many Locusts here. Thankfully, they are on a time limit. One of the Oracles gets abducted. A little bit unfortunate for him, but at least it wasn't a Tempest. Mothership core being remade should be made into a Mothership again immediately. And now Todd just kind of has to sit at home until his Mothership's up again, because you can't posture aggressively against this solid a defense. 14 spines, 42 spores with this little, with a visible army is what I want to say.
Okay, so Todd, he's really getting himself into the most ideal late game composition he could possibly muster up. The problem is Miniraser realistically can almost keep this up all day. Todd has to go for a decisive win, and he has to win almost in one push. He can't afford to lose this army and not kill off all of the swarm hosts and most of Miniraser, because Miniraser's bank isn't that high, but Todd's gas is starting to get a little low for his comfort. Only 1800 gas sitting in the bank isn't enough to rebuild very much of this army at all, considering it's cost him about 7,000 gas.
We have Neural Parasite on the way. That's going to be kind of cool. We don't often see that upgrade. It's not as critical in this matchup as it was in Wings of Liberty, where you used to try to Neural Parasite the mothership and then get a Vortex off. But Vortex is gone now. I kind of wish Miniraser would add on a couple more Corruptors, because he doesn't quite have the count to one-shot anything he wants. I don't think. I'm going to do some mental math. Kill some time while I do that.
Well, for the moment, we do just see Todd just attempting the left-hand side of the map as maybe a better route to go down. Does have the mothership. It's making its way over to join his army now. These Locusts still being a bit of a pain. Other thing to note is, actually with a good number of Infestors out, if some Fungal Growth were to come down on this army, it is incredibly easy to clump up this Protoss force. So a few good Fungal Growths would deal catastrophic amounts of damage exceptionally quickly.
They really would, and I did some mental math, and I'm not 100% sure because I don't know how much armor or whatever the shield upgrades add, but I think it takes 2 hits for these 18 Corruptors to kill off a Tempest. So Miniraser will probably want to add on a couple more Corruptors, and he does have enough space for 2 more, but a couple of Queens going down here as well. Still sitting on 3 Queens. It's not a ton, obviously, but he does have a ton of larva saved up, so he doesn't actually really need those Queens right now.
Now, the reason this game, some people are going to be sitting there thinking, okay, this is going to be another Mana versus Fire cake. It's going to be 3 hours long or whatever else. But it can't go as long, because the difference is the map. Yonsu is a lot wider, there's many more paths to go through, and there's less bases that you can easily take, as we're seeing. So their banks are going to be lower. They can't keep this up indefinitely.
And Todd is also being a lot more active than Mono was, in that now we're almost at the 1 hour mark. A little bit of a mini engagement coming on down. A couple of Vipers going down, so nice little pick off for Todd here. But as I was saying, Todd has been a lot more active, and as a result, he's sitting on only 15, 17 gas. He doesn't have enough gas to survive for another 2 hours. He's going to try to make it this push.
Oh, those are fungals, though!
Infestors.
Those are the fungal growths I was talking about. They can be absolutely massive. They get down, but the infestors are getting picked away. A nice revelation coming on a lot of this army, allowing those Tempests to use the max range, as you said, Penguin. And Todd's supply is up.
Couple more air units being made, 8 more Vipers being made. I think that's a pretty big mistake right now. He's going to go up to 10 Vipers. That's 30 supply in Vipers and units that just don't actually do any damage. And I don't actually like that all too much out of Miniraser here, but Todd is continuing to posture with this army. He's done a good job keeping his mothership alive this time around. There's still a good number of Vipers on the field with energy for Abduct, so he's got to continue to be careful. But as long as the Revelations are up, they're actually technically down right now. But if he gets another Revelation, it's going to be very, very hard for those Vipers to close the distance. Another good Fungal goes down, and guys, remember, Fungal does also negate the cloaking ability. So a lot of Void Rays being pulled in here. They will die. A couple of units going down for the Void Rays, so not entirely free trades. But any unit that Miniraser can kill off is pretty good for him right now.
Both of these two battling it out. Another good Fungal, allowing a few more Abducts to come through, despite the Mothership being out on the field. Still sitting at 15 Tempests though. Miniraser up in supply at the moment, adding in 7 more Vipers. That's going to take him up to 11, Penguin. That is a huge number, just reliant on these Spore Crawlers to slowly pick away at the army as he abducts them over to it.
Well, Miniraser does have a pretty crushing supply lead right now. Todd is now out of gas entirely, and Miniraser hasn't lost any of his swarm hosts yet. He has lost a lot of his air army. He's down to just 4 Vipers and 8 Corruptors, and that's not really enough to contend with this. But Todd he's all in with this army because he only has minerals left, and he's warping in a lot of Zealots here. He is spending the very, very last of his gas on a couple of Void Rays that are going to come out, but my biggest worry is that there's no gas for Miniraser either, and there's no real answer to the air army.
There isn't. In grand total, Miniraser currently sitting with 10 Corruptors.
And 25 Spores, but they're not all in the greatest of positions.
Mothership is going to get abducted, but recalls itself back to safety. That's quite a nice little move there. Just means that Todd probably going to have to wait until it gets back, though. 7 Vipers are down. How many spores are there, Penguin? There's
25 last I checked.
Okay, 25 spores. That's a decent number, but Tempest massively outrange static defense, so...
And there's 18 of them.
Yeah, they can last a long time up against spores.
This is honestly looking pretty okay for Todd right now, because Miniraser, he doesn't have a huge gas income. His gas income is 224. There's only 2 gas geysers that he has mining right now, which is more than Todd has, to be sure. But he just doesn't really have much that deals with his army. Todd, though, has to continue being active. Todd is going to start mining, distance mining with these workers on the minerals. I'd kind of like to see him saturate those gases, too. Actually, all of the distance mining on the gas would be kind of cool, but we have more Zealots being warped in. Well, not anymore, because there's no more minerals left, pretty much, but a couple more Zealots were warped in and tried to do some damage over at the 5th base. But here we go, the Tempest army pushing on forward.
Smart. The Tempest trying to focus down the extractors. Probably the only 2 left with any gas in them as well. So, by taking that out, Todd is trying to deny Miniraser any further ability to make anti-air, be it Corruptors or anything else. There are 15 Corruptors on the field now, but they're still outnumbered by the Tempest alone.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the Spores, really. The Spores and the Abducts are going to be the big question here. 15 Corruptors is a much better number than the 8 that we had earlier. 16 is going to be what's on the map as soon as these, or 17 now that there's another one in production. But that's still less than the Tempests, and the Tempests are 3-3-3, which is really scary. I mean, obviously the Corruptors are also 3-3, but this is going to be really tough to deal with despite the supplies. I know the supplies look like Miniraser is really far ahead, but 90 supply, essentially, is in Swarm Hosts that aren't really doing anything against this air army. And here we go! A couple of good shots going down on 2 of the Vipers, which go down essentially for free. That is unfortunate.
Now, it's worth noting and reminding everyone, this is, of course, game number 1 of a best of 5. Just showing how much these two are going to be battling it out throughout this series. Todd, though, while he's down in supply, it doesn't tell the full story, because the 29 Swarm Hosts are effectively useless at this point, because all they can actually hurt are the 2 Colossi.
Yep, and well, we have more Vipers moving forward. Another Viper going down for free. Miniraser's donating the Vipers without even managing to get an Abduct on that Mothership, which is really, really tough here for him. Todd maintains his count of 18 Tempests. He's got 2 Void Rays to back that up, and still an Oracle. The Oracle is a lot more important than we're giving it credit for. A good
the
abduct
mothership
coming down.
got...
That's going to die. The mothership's dead. Good abduct. But the Tempest count still reigns supreme.
Bear in mind, Todd doesn't have enough money, or enough gas to remake that mothership's core, let alone the mothership. So, therefore he no longer has any cloak, which will allow the... Oh, there's only 3 Vipers left as well. They do get 1 Tempest. The Corruptor's going to try and work that out. Nearly loses a Viper in the process, though. If the Vipers go down, that's going to put Miniraser in a world of hurt.
We need to see another Revelation go down, but the thing is, there's only 1 Oracle left, and with no gas, that means that as soon as the Oracle dies, that's lights out for the Revelations. And another Revelation going down. He's being very safe with his Revelations, putting them over the hatchery, so there is a chance that he will see the Sky Force as it moves over one of those buildings. But with no chance to remake Oracles, he really doesn't want to commit the Oracle and try to get a Revelation down on the actual units.
A couple of spines moving down to this right-hand base at around the 4 o'clock position. Just
another
ready.
Tempest goes down. No, a Viper, sorry.
Yep.
And another Viper goes down. So 2 more Vipers going down.
That leaves only a single one. Oh, sorry, 2 left on the field. So
2 Vipers, 18 Corruptors. The Corruptor count is still looking good, 19 now, but they can't really engage this head-on.
For anyone wondering why Todd is keeping his army position around here, it's not for the long-distance mining. He wants to secure this base so he can take those 2 gases. If he can get the 2 gases up, he can remake the mothership core, remake the mothership, and therefore get cloaked for this army again. Miniraser desperately trying to take the base to the 4 o'clock position, but the Zealots have actually been doing a good job, and the Zealots now working away at a couple of the spores, which is actually quite substantial. The 2 gases have now been taken out, no extractors there. That means Miniraser has 0 gas income. He can't make any more Vipers after this one that's about to pop. No more Corruptors. This is a real, like, war of attrition now. Whoever can trade more effectively probably will win this game.
It looks like Todd is going to be able to hold on to this Nexus for now, but I honestly don't think that there's enough DPS to deal with the Swarm Host. And the Locust is going to have to cancel that Nexus. He cannot hold on to the Nexus since there's no Colossus and no splash damage.
Which is really frustrating. The Locust also seem to have realized that the probes are trying to long distance mine, so they're going to get taken out. That's a nice little pick off there by Miniraser. Todd's supply is looking very low, but army supply-wise, actually still pretty low there too. But
it's all in the Swarm Host.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
If you minus out, here's some mental maths for you, Penguin. Minus out the Swarm Host supply from Miniraser's.
It's exactly even.
Is it exactly even?
Yes, 88 to 88.
That is very, very interesting. So, this is a neck-and-neck game at the moment. And, for the moment, Todd pushing nice. He's going to be able to take out this hatchery. Those 2 veteran guys is not going to be able to...
Here we go. The air army coming back in again. Another... Oh, he gets the abducts, but he's not able to get it for free as the last Vipers go down. A Void Ray going down too, but there's no more Vipers here, and that's... Actually, no, that's a lie. He made another Viper, so there's still 1 Viper around.
1 Viper, though, will get an abduct down and get taken out. The Corruptors as well, I'm not too sure, but I'm fairly confident that even if they moved in and just went head-on, that they wouldn't be able to beat the 15
I don't think
Tempest.
so.
I am speculating there, because it's not the sort of thing I can quickly do in my head to work out whether it will work or not, but...
Yeah, the Corruptors, 19 Corruptors should not be able to kill off 15 Tempests and 1 Void Ray with equal upgrades.
So, still moving
we'll
forward.
See.
Swarm
He's
Host
moving in. Full energy on that Tempest, or on the Viper.
Another Corruptor goes down.
Corruptor died.
And that's the sort of thing that Miniraser just really can't afford to let happen, because he can't afford to remake anything. Yes, he does have now 2 gases, adding in another Viper and another Corruptor. Todd needs to really find that base fairly quickly and deal with it. He could retake this base to the 10 o'clock spot though, as the Locusts are a bit preoccupied.
Yeah, this little move from Miniraser to take the 5 or the 4 o'clock base is very, very nice. If Todd doesn't realize this is happening, as pointed out, this is really going to be hard for him. 2 more Corruptors on the way out. And production against no production. The production is probably going to win every time. And looks like Todd is making his way over. He should be able to identify that this is, in fact, there. And it's going to take a while to break the spore line. But, actually, there's a lot of Queens there, too. That's really nice. Nice by Miniraser to actually spend his minerals on Queens, which are also anti-air units. So, Miniraser starting to look like he's in a pretty solid spot.
Nice abduct comes down. That's going to be a dead Tempest, maybe 2. And a couple of Corruptors will die in the process, but 2 Tempests going down causes Todd a few problems. Down to only 13 now. Still up against those 18 Corruptors. These 2 gases potentially winning Miniraser the game.
It looks like they are, because he just has consistently 240-ish gas per minute, which is every 2 minutes. That's 5 more corruptors. And this, though, is not an engagement he really wants to take necessarily. Good damage going down from Todd, but there may just be too much here from Miniraser. The Queen's coming in to close the distance. Todd plummeting in supply down to under 60, and this looks like it's going to be the end. Miniraser will come out on top in a very closely contested game here on Yonsu. Todd with nothing left but these 3 Tempests. That's going to be it, Mattles.
Yeah, those Corruptors, still 17 of them on the field, will happily win that fight. Victory for Miniraser, and Penguin.
Mattles.
Would you do the honors and introduce these two? I'm going to drink some energy drink.
You're going to need it if we're going to survive this series by the looks of it. Anyway, in the 6 o'clock spawning location, playing for XMG, we have our Red Protoss player. Coming pretty close in the last game. Can he even it out on Polar Knight? It is Todd. And in the 12 o'clock spawn location, his opponent almost dropping the last game after being very, very, very far ahead in the beginning. Did manage to win it nonetheless. Is he going to make it 2-0? It is the Blue Zerg Fnatic Miniraser.
No proxy gates or 7 pulls as of yet. And Penguin, I've got a serious question for you.
What?
Can I, at what point in this game, if it does go on for another hour, can I start whining about this headset pressing on, like, my stitches?
Rather than whining about the headset, you can buy me pizza.
Yeah, we need to actually work out if we're going to have a pizza game, if this goes as long as
we should have a rule where if a game goes over 1 hour 30, we will have a pizza game.
I think that's a fair rule to have. Okay, we've said it now on stream, so we'll do it. We will have a pizza game if a map goes over 1 hour 30. That's fair. It is the last day of challenge. I reckon we might do one anyway. But anyway, for the moment, this game is going pretty standard. It's opening very normal. Gas gate from Todd. Meanwhile, a pull first from Miniraser. So that's kind of the more general way you'll open up, unless of course you're on the Korean ladder. Otherwise, you could go hatch pull. We did see, who was it yesterday? Was it Snoot yesterday who did that?
I believe so, yes.
No, it wasn't. It couldn't have been Snoot. It would have been Revolver against Baby 9.
Yes, Revolver. Boom. We had a lot of Zergs yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, we did actually. We had a very good race distribution yesterday, and actually today we've got very good race distribution. Oh no, we've only got 2 matchups today, which is a bit of a shame, but oh well.
But they're not mirrors.
That is always a good time.
Okay.
Now, yes, sixlings.
Cool. I love this. Basically, the plan is these links are going to be hitting Todd's base around the time that the Nexus would be going down. And that's going to be really annoying because there's not going to be a lot of health on the Nexus.
There is the Zealot, though.
There is the Zealot, which is a little bit unfortunate. You would have hoped for the Zealot to be cancelled, but the Zealot was not cancelled. We'll see what he can get done. 6 links is enough to surround a Zealot. I don't think he'll get the cancel with the Mothership Core on the way out, but it's still kind of cool to try to apply a little bit of pressure.
So, for the moment, these links just making their way across. They're going to come and take a little peek here. The probe could be in a little bit of trouble. Yep. Boom, in comes the Mothership Core. Should scare them away. Miniraser may try and chip away at that Nexus, but I think he's probably safer just backing on out. Not too much getting achieved there. 6 lings that could have been 3 drones, so not ideal, especially when they do essentially nothing. And Todd just carries on as normal.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty happy to see those. It doesn't really make that much of a difference in this game, if we're totally honest, but it is just a minor disadvantage now for Miniraser. He does have map control, though, which is kind of nice. But the probe's already out on the map, so...
Yeah, it's a pretty standard thing to do, though, get that probe out. So getting out early just means that the Ling's not going to be able to prevent a proxy pylon coming down if there was going to be some gateway pressure, and there is. 3 gates getting started up in addition to the one already there. 4 gate pressure coming through with only 1 gas. That means that it should be pure Zealot. But there's no third base yet for Miniraser, so not going to be able to try and force a cancel on that. Love this pylon position if it's going where I think it is. Oh, yeah. This is so good.
Oh, yeah. This is not somewhere the Zerg is generally going to check.
Nope.
Generally, the most common place to put a pylon, I think, is outside the third base behind the line of sight blockers here. And I would not be surprised to see Miniraser check there. But with 6 links, yeah, he's going to check for it now. But honestly, I don't know if I would not check that far back, so Miniraser may not see that.
And if he doesn't, he's going to be a little bit frustrated by it. But still, Oh, adding in double spines and the double evolution chamber here.
Okay,
this is
he smells something.
He knows something is up. Has he seen anything with any overlords? No, no. He doesn't even know about... He knows one gas is up. And oh, he can see that there's no second gas in the main. That's why he knows it's going to be this.
I see,
so,
yeah, that makes sense.
that's all good. Miniraser, power of deduction, strong. Pylon block coming down here, but Todd also knows there's no third base attempt. So isn't going to actually invest anything into getting Zealots down, because there's no point. He won't be able to break the natural. But nor does he need to. He's on equal bases with Miniraser. So he's just going to chill back. The only thing probably Todd would be a little bit concerned about is what Miniraser is doing on 2 bases still. Is there some kind of all-in coming?
It is a possibility, but I don't really think so here. Not with the gases coming on down. The Robo for Todd will allow him to go for an Immortal all-in if he wants to, but we'll have to just wait and see what he chooses for. What he chooses to go for here. Sun is somebody who likes to go for a 4-gate play into an Immortal all-in, but without a third base up yet for Miniraser, I'm not sure if that would be the right course of action, to be honest, because Todd, if he just goes for a third and expands, he's going to be in a pretty solid spot himself.
Couple of queens coming down, just going to try and force back the Mothership core. Time Warp being used, though. That will allow the Zealots to close up the distance. They're trying to get the damage down on the queen, trying to get this around. Will get it.
That was cute. Really
Nice
cute
little pick
control there by Todd.
Yeah, really good. Still 3 queens remain, though, so no harm in the injecting. Still 1 left over when a hatchery gets down. Just remaking it anyway, though, because that's going to aid the creep spread, getting more creep tumors through. We've got the Immortals coming out, and Todd opening exactly this, or a very similar way to what we saw in the previous map. The difference is, this game, it's not getting scouted, nor is there a third base to actually aid in the production.
Well, 2 of the additional gateways are being seen by that Overlord. That is a really money Overlord, seeing the gas, or the lack thereof, earlier on, and now seeing these additional gateways. So Miniraser should know what's coming his way, and with the double upgrades, being on 2 bases is not that disastrous for him, because if you have double upgrades for the Lings, generally as a Zerg, you want to have 1 advantage over the Protoss, and oftentimes they'll go for the economy advantage. But you can also go for the advantage in something like the upgrades, which is what he's opted for this time around. So he's going to have a 1-1
Oh, there's another money Overlord as well. Miniraser knows all about this.
Yeah, he knows exactly what's coming. Speed is done for the Lings, gets a full surround of those Zealots. 1-1 is done. He's going to have to recall out, but not before a couple of the Zealots go down. And now we have Pathogen Glands on the way, more Lings on the way. Todd pushing out already, so the Infestors are not going to be out in time to deal with this as soon as it hits. But there's a lot of Lings here.
And remember, that pylon there is hidden behind the natural base is still up at the moment for Todd, so he does have the warp-ins. Has another pylon down too.
A lot of units down here at the third, though, and he lost a sentry and 5 Zealots essentially for free. Oh, going for the engage here now. The Ling's getting a full surround. The sentries are going to be picked up here. The force field's coming a bit late. Some of the sentries will survive, but a lot will go down. Actually, one of them surviving with very, very low hit points, but all of a sudden, Miniraser doesn't actually have much except for these 6 Infestors in production. Where are the Zerglings? He has more Spines coming on up. Will this be enough to hold? The Spines are not done yet, but they may be done by the time the attack actually commences. Yes, they will finish up right about now, but the Infestors aren't out yet, Maddles.
There's good Sim City as well, though, for Miniraser, which is really reducing the number of Zealots that can go through, but the Immortals, the 3 of them, just deal huge damage. Great Fungal Growth comes through. Chain Fungal's gonna be going out. Infested Terrans thrown onto the field too. And with this, the push from Todd is very much reduced, but with the Lings coming out, once they pop, they should be able to clean this up. It's just how much damage Todd can do before that point.
A couple of the Infestors did go down, but now with the Drone Pole and the Zerglings going to be coming on out, a good force field going to allow Todd to pick up a lot of these drone kills here. Third hatchery's down, though. Miniraser's down very far in supply, only 32 drones, but now the Lings are done. He is going to push on out, but there's more Zealots coming on in now. A couple of Infested Terrans being dropped on out. The Lings able to shred one of the Immortals, the other one losing its shields, but it's not going to be enough. Todd continuing to push on through. 3 more Infestors on the way. These 3, though, with no energy. More Lings engaging. GG, and Miniraser will drop.
Penguin, do the honors. Introduce these 2 players.
In the top left spawn location, playing for XMG, we have our red Protoss player tying up the series 1-1 on Polar Night. It is Todd. Opponent spawning in the bottom left spawn location of Frost. Going to be trying to make the series go his way once again. It's our Blue Zerg player for Team Fnatic, Miniraser.
Frost will be the host of this 3rd map. Currently tied 1-1, as you mentioned, Penguin, and therefore, no winners, no losers as of yet. No one with the advantage. Todd opening a bit different to how he's done previously in this series so far. Getting a pylon on the lone ground, so most likely to be some kind of forge fast expansion. which on Frost is a good thing to do. It's quite a narrow choke, so you can get away with it. Meanwhile, Miniraser, too early to tell, but he could opt to go for a hatch first on Frost. It's probably one of the safer maps to do that on.
Definitely, and as it's a 4-player map, it's also one of the safer maps to go for a 3-hatch before pool build if Todd doesn't opt for a Forge first. Actually, it looks like he may be doing just that. Actually, the Forge is already queued up, so it is going to be a Forge first from Todd on 13 or 14. So he's almost definitely going to be looking for the cannon rush here. He's going to be hoping that Miniraser goes hatch first, but Miniraser's not going to be doing that. Opting for the 15 pool, the safer play here, expecting Todd perhaps to go for such a cannon rush. Todd now sending out his second worker. He shouldn't really be able to get much done. You can't really get a successful cannon rush up against a pool first if the Zerg player doesn't make a giant mistake.
You have to go for the second pro pool, by the way. Anyone who ever tries to cannon rush on Frost, always pull the second pro, because otherwise you are playing such a numbers game. And statistically, you're not going to scout the right base first and you wouldn't get it down. But actually, no Overlord here at the moment for Miniraser. He does scout the fact that it's a Forge first, so he should be very cautious about a cannon rush coming down.
You don't really need to put the Overlord over your natural with the pool first, though, so he should be perfectly fine here. And Todd not even going to try for the cannon rush after seeing that the hatchery timing at that, with the health being only that far up, does kind of show that this was in fact a pool first, not a hatch first. Now we just have a Nexus and a Gateway coming on up behind us, and Todd opting for the Nexus and the Gateway before the cannon, just so that he can kind of expedite his income a little bit. 4 lanes on the way out, just to make perfectly sure that nothing crazy is going on. Todd is hiding this probe at the third base location. On that high ground is pretty nice. You can get a pylon and a cannon up there without them really noticing if they are playing a little sloppily, and then you can maybe even cannon rush that base. But Miniraser probably going to check for that.
Miniraser now pulling that drone, so yeah, the third base will be coming up. Ooh, nice positioning of this pylon. And the reason this is so cool is because you can use that pylon to power a couple of cannons coming down. So may not get scouted by... Oh, no, he's going to see it. Good work there by Miniraser. Boom. Hi, pylon. I hope he sees it anyway. Yep, there we go. Pulls it back.
Yeah, and that's not cancelled, so that's a 100 mineral investment for Todd that's going to do absolutely nothing, which is a little unfortunate. No big deal, though.
He also hasn't started up another pylon either, which means he won't get supply block instantly, but...
he doesn't really need one at all with the Nexus finishing
Oh, yeah,
up,
true.
so that was solely for the potential of a cannon rush. Does potentially delay his Cybercore a little bit. Cybercore coming down at about 4 minutes 45. Double gas is done in the main for Todd. Still waiting for him to saturate those, which will probably be doing that right about now. There we go. And now behind this, everything is just looking to be a pretty standard game. It's going to be very passive for the beginning because Forge first versus 3-hatch play, generally you're not going to see much aggression coming out at all early on. This is kind of like the phase of the game where in Wings of Liberty you just would have to talk about random stuff for the first 9 minutes because nothing would really happen. But we will probably be seeing Miniraser add on his gases around either 6 minutes or 6:30. And Todd, we're just kind of waiting to see what tech path he goes for. Almost definitely going to be Robo. That's the most standard to see off of a Forge Fast Expand.
It should be good as well getting the Robo down. He's shown a tendency to still like Immortal Sentry plays, but no, not going to be doing that. Getting down a Stargate.
Ah, cool.
So, a bit of variation here from Todd. Miniraser hasn't had to deal with this yet. What's your money on for what's going to be coming out of that Stargate?
A Void Ray, it could be an Oracle first, followed by a Void Ray. It'll probably be that. Oracle, then Void Ray, and then a really fast third base would be my guess. Void Rays do allow you to secure third bases very, very easily, as there's nothing really that can be thrown at you except for roaches and lings. And neither of them shoot up. So, yeah, I mean, Void Rays are going to be nice for Todd here as an option. He may just make one to try to secure the third and then cut the production. Alternately, something that we see less often, we could see him go crazy and try to go up to 3 Stargate Sky Toss later on, but... we'll just have to wait and see what he does opt for. +1 ground on the way for him as well.
It's going to be a Phoenix
coming out, so Phoenix is for Todd.
These Phoenix give him map control. They mean that, obviously, Overlords, they'll get pushed back. Any out on the field should get taken down. If he continues producing Phoenix up to 4, 5 of them, he can start picking off any queens that may be straying a bit too far from a protective spore crawler. He can start harassing mineral lines, picking off drones. And generally, it just feels quite nice to get out a decent number of Phoenix. They have quite a high micro potential, and Todd is going to be continuing on with more than just the single Phoenix at the moment, so it's going to be committing a bit more resources too.
Well, 6 more gateways being added on by Todd now, so this is going to be a heavy 2-base play here. Going up to 7 gateways along with these Phoenixes, it's going to be an all-in, and 14 drones just got started up by Miniraser. That
doesn't bode well.
He's going up to a total of 61 drones, which is a little higher than you want to be, and I'm being generous with the phrase a little. He's adding on a couple of spores here in the natural. None in the main just yet.
He's about to scout
expecting
pylon,
Phoenix
actually.
pressure.
He finds the probe out on the map, so he is going to be able to take that down. I don't know if he's going to go and continue looking for that pylon, but if you can deny the proxy pylon, we could... Ah, never mind, there's a second probe out.
Well, 64 drones on the map now, and more spores being added on are going to be nice, but there's going to be so many gateway units on the ground. Probably predominantly zealots, I would imagine, especially given the fact that there's nobody mining gas from that natural, which is actually a mistake. There's 3 guys sort of sitting there idly.
A spy is coming down, Penguin.
Yeah, this is looking pretty bad, but roaches are on the way, so he's not going to be totally defenseless against the zealot ground army, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it definitely helps having, obviously, the roaches down, but the reason I went, oh, it's a spy, is because against this, you'd be a lot more happy if you were getting a Hydralisk den down, because Roach Hydra would fare against this very nicely, whereas the Spire, there's already Phoenix down, which makes the Spire an interesting choice, because Phoenix do counter Mutalisks quite effectively.
To note, the pylon that was closest to the third base was killed off. The Zealots are going to take quite a while to actually walk their way over to the third now. And the Phoenixes are going to be able to come on in and pick up a couple of the Roaches here. There's a lot of Zealots engaging, but they're engaging in a choke, which is not ideal against Roaches. Good hold position, Micro, on the drones. Very nicely done here by Miniraser. Meanwhile, the Roaches trying to whittle away the Zealot numbers, doing a very good job. 6 worker kills here, 8 worker kills, but that's not disastrous given how many workers that Miniraser actually has. And Todd has been completely warded off here. He's been completely thwarted for the time being. And with more Roaches coming out, I think this has been a pretty solid hold for Miniraser.
More Phoenix coming through. I'm just taking a look. Todd hasn't yet seen the Spire, but obviously getting more Phoenix down will help if Mutalisks start up in production. But it's going to be Corruptors, so nice choice there.
That.
Getting some Corruptors out basically shut down these Phoenix so hard. Corruptors are armored units, and of course Phoenix only deal any remote decent damage to light units due to the bonus damage. So the Corruptors outrange them as well. They can just start chipping away quite happily. Meanwhile, if we take a look, Robotics Facility is in production. So Todd mixing this up a bit, but that push was intended to either win the game or at the very, very least kill the third of Miniraser. It did neither of those things.
Yeah, now we have 16 supply tied up in Phoenixes that are going to be almost useless against these Corruptors, as you intoned earlier. And now, a bunch of the Zealots are going to be engaging these Roaches off creep, which is about as good as possible. The Roach is not kiting for the time being. A good start to this trade here for Miniraser and for Todd, rather. And now the Corruptors coming in will be able to deal with the Phoenixes pretty well. Are there enough Roaches to hold up the Zealots with the +1? It looks like there should be.
1-1 upgrades about to kick in as well for Miniraser. That's the melee upgrades, though. The final Roach is going to get taken out. Those Overlords, unfortunately, blocking the vision. But we do, in the natural, have a couple of Zealots wandering up into there. But with Roaches popping out, they're not going to get too much else achieved. 10 workers have been killed so far. The Miniraser still up at 60 drones. So, a good, solid economy. It's still there. Actually, this one Zealot being a bit of a hero gets 4 kills on his own sim. But yeah, Todd, he is behind in this game now. He needs to be looking at where he goes from here. Getting a third, not too viable because it would just be so ridiculously late. His only real option is to try and follow this up with some kind of Immortal Sentry play, which is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I honestly don't see this working for him, though. He's adding on another gateway to go up to a total of 8 gateways, but there's just so much on the field for Miniraser already. He's up to 60 drones. He's got those despite the 14 losses. He's getting 7 more, which I don't really know if I like the decision to add on more Roaches, but he's picking off a couple of the Phoenixes for free here as well. So Todd really struggling to maintain map control with these Phoenixes like he wants to be. And now a couple more Corruptors being added on just to be perfectly safe, and now unit production has continued again. 10 Lings, 6 Roaches, and with just only units, he should have no trouble holding this.
He's got the production to just really ramp up so many Roaches. There's currently 24 already down on the field. There will be more coming out too. How many Lings are there? Only 14 for the time being, so not that many. But again, that's something Miniraser can look to start really ramping up. And he should get some more Lings, considering he's getting the melee attack upgrades. He needs that extra damage output.
Well, if Todd attacks after 2-2, I give him 0% chance of winning. But it looks like he's getting ready to push out. There's still about a minute until those upgrades hit, so he may well hit about 40 seconds before those are ready. Now then I give him maybe a 20% chance of winning. Either way, it's not very promising. He's going up against 17 Lings, 28 Roaches, 9 Corruptors, 10 Mutas on the way now as well. And there's not that much anti-air here, and 13 Mutas now coming out.
Miniraser going for a little push out now, and this is going to get to Todd's base far before Todd is actually engaged. He may have to recall here. Doesn't have enough energy, though.
He should just base race.
He doesn't have enough energy to recall anyway.
Would be a huge mistake here. as he just doesn't have any economy to really fall back on, whereas Miniraser does. Miniraser, though, he is maxed. This is actually pretty good for Todd, to be honest. I don't think he would have had much of a chance of breaking Miniraser had Miniraser just tried to defend, but Miniraser was out of position going for a push, and now the base race should still go in favor of Miniraser, hypothetically, with the Mutalisk.
Wait, what's Todd doing? Todd's just sitting there. He is going to recall. He kept his army still for so long, though, indecisive about the best option to take. Going to try and engage his head on, but there's so many roaches around there, and the Mutalisk coming through. The Phoenix can't really engage because of the Corruptors. A couple of hallucinated Archons coming into the mix, but Todd's supply now really dropping quite fast.
Yeah, only 3 Phoenixes left to deal with the Mutas. There's not that many Mutas out, but there's also almost no defense on the ground. There's no anti-air, really, except for a couple of Stalkers, and there's still roaches here. A giant swell of Lings moving across the map here, and there's still 2 full bases mining for Miniraser. The natural may be ransacked, the 4th may be ransacked, but he's still got the 3rd in the main. And now, with 140 supply against 72 of Todd, and a bit of that supply for Todd also going down here as the last of the Phoenixes fall, this is looking very, very promising for our Swedish Fnatic player, and he will be able to go up 2-1 in this series. GG, Miniraser taking...
See. Go for it, Penguin.
In the top left spawn location of Heavy Rain, we have our red Protoss player representing Team XMG. He needs to win this game or he will be out of WCS and will have to re-qualify. It is Todd. Spawning in the bottom right spawn location. 1 game away from making his Premier League debut. It is the Swedish Hope, the Blue Zerg player representing Team Fnatic. It is Miniraser.
Game number 1 was an epic long Swarm Host v late game Skytoss battle. Game number 2, Todd won with a great Immortal Sentry all in on Polar Knight. Map number 3, Miniraser defended a lot of Phoenix and, well, big gateway push coming down off of 2 bases, and Todd had to try and all in with an Immortal Sentry after that. Didn't work though, and therefore Miniraser took the game in a bit of a base race. Map number 4 though, and everything on the line for the XMG player. Miniraser though, he's got a little breathing room. If he loses this, we go to the ace match. If he wins it, congrats into Premier. If you were in Todd's shoes right now, Penguin, what would you do?
Honestly, go for another all-in. It worked really well in game number 2, despite being scouted. So, he really has good unit control. And he showed us his really good unit control in game 1 as well. But he just wasn't really able to show it in the last game, as he just kind of got shut down really early with that pylon going down. And he just got read really well as well. So Miniraser, the last game was very, very one-sided. But, to be fair, the game before that was one-sided in Todd's favor. And before that, there was a really, really close long macro game. So this series could still go either way. And honestly, I would expect Todd to go for another all-in here. Because he wanted to do it game 1. He did do it game 2. And, I mean, it's something that he's good at. So, why not?
Statistically, it's worth noting as well, this is the theoretical closest series that we'll have today, at least according to Eligulac stats. So I personally think Todd will be able to level out this series, and I think we should be going up into the ace game. But Miniraser, there's a lot to be said for having that confidence and knowledge that you can lose. Knowing you've got that backup can let you do a couple more crazy things and potentially take a few more risks. And at this level of play, you have to take risks. They must be calculated always, but the reason being is you're looking to get that little edge, that little advantage. And if Miniraser is feeling more confident because he's got that safety net, he may take more of those risks. And if Todd doesn't try and basically take advantage of that and get the win, it means Miniraser will get a solid lead.
Well, Miniraser is getting the speed up very, very early, pulled guys off gas as well, so just going to be going back full into mineral mode now. Wouldn't be too surprised to see a third base coming up relatively quickly for Miniraser here, but Todd himself just adding on a Nexus. No Chrono going into his Warp Gate yet. I think I haven't seen any. So it doesn't look like he's going to go too heavy on the aggression by the looks of it, but I would still assume... Oh, actually, I take that back. 4 gateways are going to be on the menu here for Todd. 3 more being added on down at the natural. So we are going to be seeing some heavy pressure out of him.
Now, this is quite interesting because it hasn't been successful, I think, any series so far. Todd, he didn't do it in Polar Knights, did he? On the map he won.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested to see how this pans out, because we've seen we've seen 4-gate pressure kind of fail a lot in WCS Challenger this season. So mass zealot harassment is going to be what he's going to be trying to make work. There's only one gas here. He's not got any sort of tech follow-up immediately. And the thing about the 4 gates as opposed to the 3 gates is that it really, really delays your tech a lot. It's a big committal, and he's going to need to try to get some damage done. Otherwise, it's just not going to be worth the committal. Losing a zealot to start.
What's interesting, Penguin, is that on Polar Night he did go for this. I looked at my notes, and the reason he didn't commit to it is because of the fact that there was no third from Miniraser, which is again what we're seeing in this map. And then, because there isn't a third, it's being delayed by quite a lot. Todd doesn't actually need to commit heavily into the Zealots to do a good amount of, or delay what Miniraser's planning. And Todd, if he plays it the same as Polar Knight, he'll follow this up with a robotic facility which does just get started and go into the Immortal Sentry all in. So while he has been delayed, Miniraser doesn't have that third. He's just starting it now, but it's in range of a pylon that can see it, so the next wave of warpins should come up here from Todd.
There were a couple of warpins just now at home, but I think we have, yeah, there we go, a couple of zealots being warped on in now at the third. He's going to try to get that cancelled, but there are roaches on the field. They do poke away at the zealots to the west, though, and they are a little bit out of position. These 2 zealots will deal some damage, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to cancel that. Meanwhile, the other 2 zealots are going to make their way into the natural, and there aren't really any units there except for the queen, so these could do a little bit of damage.
They're going to poke away
and
at
the third
queen.
Is going to go down.
Does it get cancelled? It really needs to.
No!
No! It doesn't! So suddenly, we see a lot of damage being done. A time warp means the queen will die. Miniraser with only 1 queen now will lose a good number of drones here, but also loses an inject. That reduces larva, reduces production, more drones getting taken out. Roaches are on the way back though, so they should be able to clean up these zealots.
Oh no, this queen!
If the queen goes down, that is massive. No, it should be able to get away now.
Nope.
Oh no, no. Gets the inject.
But it gets the inject off.
But the layer's coming down, so that means... Oh, because the layer started, that means no second queen can get started instantly, adding in an even bigger
so much damage, Maddles.
5 kills. Miniraser lost 6 workers already. That was its 7th. The mothership core is going to get away. Still no third hatch, just getting begun now. And Todd, behind this, is starting his 2nd Immortal, adding in more sentries. We should see some additional gateways started shortly. Yep, did the probe go over there? No, it didn't quite yet. But yeah, should be coming over now. 1 coming up from the natural. This is looking really good for Todd.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see 2 more or 3 more gateways. Yep, there we go. Added on right now. Boom, boom. 3 gateways being added on for Todd. This is the same build as we saw on Polar Knight. Worked for him there in this game. If it worked for him on Polar Knight, there's no reason it shouldn't work here. He did so much damage, picking off both queens, delaying the larva quite a bit. There's only 43 drones to the 43 probes. His 3rd base is massively delayed. On the other hand, though, Miniraser's changed it up. No roach speed. Instead, tunneling claws. Burrow on the way. And that could definitely make this work.
It depends when Todd goes, and it looks like that's going to be now. He's also adding in the 3rd Immortal, coming over with this army. Going to take out the Overlord. This, again, just gives him a bit of an option. And has added in 3 more gateways, taking him up to a total of 7. And there comes the War Prison. That's what I was waiting for, since there wasn't a proxy pylon. This push going to hit after now tunneling claws is done, but it should be only just.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight little timing there, but should be done, and that's the more important part. The big thing now, though, is that there's only 17 roaches, which is a good number of roaches, but against 3 immortals, it's going to be a little tough to hold either way. There is no observer, though. It's being chronoed out now, but it is significantly farther behind. It looks like he has seen the tunneling claws animation on those roaches. Here we go. Going to be moving on in with those. They'll be able to take a good engagement, sacrificing the 3rd, though. How much damage can the roaches do? They pop up, say hello. No focus fire going down on the Immortals just yet, but a lot of the gateway units are going down. There's the Burrow coming out again. Once again, going to be taking a shot, and out goes Todd's army with a recall. He got the 3rd base, got out of there, and overall, that's still a pretty okay position for him to be in. He's got a worker lead. He's got an income lead.
He's going to go again.
He is going to go again. He's going to go again with a stronger army, with an observer, with a 4th Immortal.
That's the right thing to do. That recall was perfect.
He actually lost an Immortal, so...
The purpose of that recall was just because he killed off the 3rd. He knows Miniraser isn't getting a good economy, and he didn't have an observer, so he couldn't deal with the tunneling roaches. Whereas now, with the 3rd Immortal put back in, I wouldn't be surprised to see Todd go. Although actually he's adding in a 4th Immortal now, and he's also getting +1, so he might not opt to go quite yet. And I'm not sure. Going for this drop play, this could be quite good.
There's also swarm hosts on the way, Maddles, so
Oh god.
This could be a long game if Todd doesn't do some really critical damage right here. But the drop not actually going to go in. He goes in, flies back out without dropping any of the Zealots in. So Miniraser going up against this composition. Swarm hosts are fantastic. He is going to be losing that Overseer, but at the same time, seeing that army composition should make him a little bit happy, because he's going to know I have units that work against this pretty well. How many Swarm hosts? Only 4. A 5th one about to spawn on out, but it's not a great amount. He'll probably have to sacrifice this 3rd base once again, but he should be able to hold on and survive.
I'm surprised Todd didn't go earlier, to be honest, because with the Observer out, he could have just walked over and actually done very, very well. Possibly won the game there, so he needs to take out this 3rd. He's definitely going to be able to do that. There's pretty much no way that Miniraser are going to be able to hold that. But Todd doesn't have his own 3rd base, but he is adding in the Robotics Bay significantly faster than he did on Yonsu. That means he's got Splash earlier, adding in the 2nd Robotic Facility too, after seeing those Swarm hosts, and is going for a drop in the main.
Alright, so we'll see how much damage this drop can do. It doesn't look like it's going to do much at all. There are Roaches and Queens there, but it looks like what Todd's going to want to do is go for a timing with 4 or 6 Colossus. Most likely 6 Colossus. And then he's going to try to kill off Miniraser then, because he's going to get the 6 Colossi very quickly with this double Robo. And right now, Miniraser's producing nothing but Swarm hosts. He has to pick drones and risk dying to a push, or Swarm hosts and sacrifice the economy to make sure he survives. And he's doing that. He's going to be going up to 10 Swarm hosts before adding on extra drones. 2 more drones coming on out now, and during Locust's about to finish. And now, Miniraser is playing this game from behind, which is a big difference from the game we saw in Yonsu, where he was playing the game from a bit of an advantageous position early on.
3rd base coming down from Todd. It looks like Miniraser wants to get the kill on that, bringing these Roaches round, but actually retreating, wanting to try and keep up this 3rd instead, as Todd is moving forward yet again. The Swarm host count now up to 10, 3 more in production, and also the Hive on its way through. So as long as, if Todd can keep denying this 3rd, I reckon about 1 more denial of the 3rd base will put him very far ahead. But he's still got to do that, and with a good number of Swarm hosts and not a single Colossus on the field as of yet. Oh, sorry, 1 Colossus is now on the field. It is going to be tough to try and break through there with the 13 Swarm hosts.
Oh, 13 Swarm hosts is a bit of a scary number. It's not a critical mass just yet, but it is good enough to deal with a lot of these units without much splash in here. There's only 1 Colossus, and we'll see just how well this does work out. There's no upgrades just yet on the Swarm host. A lot of the Zealots going down for free here. This 3rd base should be killed off, but a lot of the Zealots have already gone down. They're going to buy time for the next wave of Locusts to come on in. The Roaches may try to close the distance now as well. The Hatchery actually not taking all too much damage just
There's
yet.
a drop in the main though at the same time. This is where a lot of damage is going to get done. Roaches having to be brought back. The force field meant that Tunneling Claws being used. The 3rd hatch will fall. The main base taking a bit more damage. The first Viper out now. Backing away. Todd does have 2 Colossi, using those hallucinated Archons in order to soak up some of the damage. And Miniraser still on 2 bases, and despite the Zealots going down, Todd has still lost less resources than his opponent for the moment.
The drop in the main is really what made that go his way. That was a fantastic move from Todd. And overall, the 3rd base for Miniraser over to the right side is going to be completing in about 30 seconds or so, so he's not going to be on 2 bases for too much longer.
Oh.
But Todd is in a really solid spot right now.
Dark Shrine Penguin. There are 2 Overseers on the map, but no spores as far as I'm aware. No, not a single spore caller.
He doesn't have the money to afford those.
Exactly, so straight away, this could do a lot of damage. Well, not straight away. There's not enough money. Oh no, there's enough money for Todd. He can warp them in. There we go. 1 DT on its way through, coming here. That's going to cancel this hatch. Or kill this hatch. Straight away. 3 DTs easily going to be able to take that down.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any sign of an Overseer going on over there. There is another push coming on towards the side here down the left. Miniraser's going to be really preoccupied with this push on his 4th base, so the 3rd base should well go down, and Todd, keeping his opponent on 1 base for so long, is really, really getting himself into a really great spot here. Miniraser struggling a lot, and in come the DTs towards the natural, actually. Those are going to go down. And actually, only 1 DT on that 3rd means he may be able to save it, but he's going to lose the 4th base 100%. Now another large warp into the main here from that Warp Prism. Should be shut down for the Roaches, but it actually looks like the Zealots are able to close the distance here, and that's a little bit unfortunate.
The Colossi as well, attacking up that cliff, getting the additional damage through. Swarm hosts and Roaches now frantically trying to find somewhere to attack from. Force fields just bottlenecking out a lot of these Locusts, and the Zealots in the main focusing the Hive. If the Hive goes down, no Vipers. No Vipers means suddenly, without the Abducts, you're going to have huge amounts of problems trying to utilize those swarm hosts well, but the Hive should stay up now as the roaches come in and clean up the zealots.
Meanwhile, we have another little attack coming down on the third base here. There's a DT with a lot of zealots. That will absolutely go down. There is nothing to save that hatchery. 2-base Miniraser at the 20-minute mark. Todd is playing this so well.
Todd has stepped up so much throughout this series. And I know that seems a strange thing to say when he lost the last map, but he's been playing consistently better. First map, he did look a little bit shaky at the start on Yonsu, where obviously we lost. Oh, the Hive goes down! That is massive. A DT sneaked in there.
This is looking...
So
honestly, the biggest problem that Todd has right now is that he doesn't really want to engage a large number of swarm hosts. 19 on the map right now.
He's got the Templar archives, so he's going to add in High Templar.
He doesn't have to attack into it, though. That's the thing. It's not like he has to do damage because he's done so much of it already. There's no third base. There's no mining in the main. Well, there's no more minerals there anyway, but it cuts down the gas income significantly. And Miniraser, not only is he not anywhere near maxed at the 21-minute mark, but he doesn't really have any upgrades going for him. He's got +1/+1 against +2/+1 with +3 well on the way. And he's going up against a Protoss player who has pretty much all the tech he could dream of as soon as this Templar Archive's finished.
A couple of roaches trying to take out this proxy pylon, not going to be successful in doing it. Charge and +3 on the way through, and it's worth noting the Miniraser is still on 1-1. Very few upgrades there, simply because he doesn't have the money to get anything else. He's restarting up his Hive now, so that's not too long without Viper production. He hasn't had to use any of the 5 that he already has on the field. But, to be honest, Todd is just looking in a spectacular position with his 4th now secured. And once he's got, of course, some High Templar down and Storm researched, that's when really he can look to engage into these swarm hosts.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he may I feel like he could potentially already engage into them if he had 2 more Colossi.
Oh no, more drops.
Yeah, I saw that. The main is... Oh no, the Roach Warren.
Yep.
Roach Warren's not as critical as this Infestation Pit, but it looks like both are going to go down. And, well, the Lair's already back, so he can remake both of them. He can remake the Infestation Pit, no problem. But it's going to take some time, and this is just more resources that are being spent in infrastructure and not in units.
The Roach one has been restarted, but the Infestation Pit, not yet. There we go. It is up, so that's all good. Meanwhile, Storm is on its way. 4th base for Todd, happily mining. The worker count at 61 probes to 44 drones. The income. Just bring up the income bars, Penguin. Look at that gas discrepancy. 900 gas a minute for Todd compared to about 250 for Miniraser.
Well,
so
Todd
good.
is about to have those 2 additional Colossi that I mentioned as well, and I think with that, he can push and kill. Todd's almost maxed. Miniraser's still at 153 supply. 19 Swarm Hosts is scary, or 22 rather, but with Storms and Colossi, I don't think this is anywhere near enough to deal with it. Todd's going to play it safe. He's going to wait for the additional Colossi to join up with his force before pushing in, but he's just denied the 4th again.
The 3rd is now up and running. It's got a whole ton of static defense in position, ready just to try and defend any little warpins, which Todd has been using so effectively so far this game. But Todd now queuing up his 5th Nexus. He is already 2 bases up, about to try and go 3 bases up, adding in the shield upgrades. Miniraser, he's doing the right thing, which is just being as defensive as possible and trying to secure up bases. But
I like, you know, you're in a pretty good spot when you warp in a Zealot harass to your opponent's main and there's nothing to kill.
Yeah.
The spawning pool survives with 21 hit points. That's a little dramatic, but he's already remaking another one just in case.
He's not using many lings, though, to be fair.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Queens.
There's going to be a heavy storm drop on this very saturated 3rd base.
And this could do a lot of damage, especially since
this is going to look sexy.
Nope, no, there's not. Oh, yes, there is. Here it goes. Okay, down they come, Storms. Do it.
Storm! Actually, didn't do quite as much damage as I thought it would, but it still looked really cool.
That was anticlimactic, Penguin. I really want to take the mick out of you and make a joke about your last relationship, but I'm gonna spare you.
Heavy Rain always gets the last relationship jokes, doesn't it?
It does. It's only because you told me off before this cast for not actually bringing you up on that and making more fun of you. But I'm just too nice to you. Anyway.
Yeah, you're too nice.
For the moment, we are just sitting here, and Todd, he's maxed out. He's got Storm. He has got the 3-1 upgrades. Seem to be 3-1-1 up against 1-1 for Miniraser currently.
I love this hallucinated Archon play coming out of Todd repeatedly. Even though they're hallucinated and take twice as much damage, they still pack a huge amount of health and Good abducts coming on down, but there's just not that much DPS to kill up the Colossi that quickly. And looks like Todd is going to try to push for the win. Really good feedbacks. There's no more Viper energy left, and that may spell doom here.
The Observers, of course, just, well, the lone Observer, just sitting in the back, running a little bit of vision. A couple of Swarm Hosts taken out there. The total now, well, a couple of Swarm Hosts taken out, but there's still 24 on the field, so they're being a little bit awkward.
Oh my god, overall, this has actually been a really bad trade. A lot of the units that were lost on the retreat, making that trade go more in Miniraser's favor. Miniraser having now lost 1.3k less resources, and now Todd's going to try to push on through again. And I mentioned this on Yonsu, but when you go for a Colossus-based composition, you really want to try to kill your opponent early rather than play for the late game. You need those air units for the late game play, and Todd is going to try to push on in here, but he really doesn't want to be engaging against this many Locusts now with not that much Storm energy left. And no real hallucination energy for Archons.
I don't think he can. He's going to have to back out here, at least for the moment. Adding in some more Colossi, which is a good move. And while he has been... well, Miniraser's still not in a good spot. He's got 37 drones. So, economically speaking, Todd is miles and miles and miles ahead. And that means that he can do somewhat what he wants. He's adding in a Stargate now, but only one of them.
That's an interesting 6th base position. Down at the 7 o'clock.
Well, if you take it, your opponent can't.
That's true. Well, we do just continually have those Swarm Hosts spawning. The Locusts trying to defend the 3rd base. They don't quite know where the main army of Todd is. Todd knocking down these rocks just now. He's actually just going to
He's also done a nice drop in the main base. Takes out the spawning pool and 2 gases.
There is another spawning pool, though, so it's not a big deal. Meanwhile, though, another engagement coming down here. Engaging in a choke there. He is able to push through that first wave of Locusts, moving on in towards the 4th base. Turning around, though, there's a lot of energy on these Vipers. He's got to be careful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Todd is being careful at the moment. These Zealots in the main base doing some good damage, and it's worth noting that the main was never retaken by Miniraser after he lost the Hive. Which may not seem crazy because there's not many minerals there, but it's the 2 gases. Miniraser is currently functioning on, like, literally one gas.
Oh, we have another engagement here. The Blink Stalker's blinking on forward, picking off one of the Vipers. 2 more very low on hit points, but the really, really good abducts going down. Another Viper going down, but a couple of Colossi too. Supply's pretty even right now, but 4 more Stargates being added on. We had a Storm drop over at the 3rd base. Didn't do too much damage. Now we have a lone sentry doing harass from the high ground on that 4th base here. It looks like he'll actually get a couple of kills here. That's kind of cute.
Good work, sentry.
Todd, not maxed, but he's close to it. And Miniraser with a bit of lag issues. Hopefully that does get resolved. Todd with the 4 Stargates coming in. That's going to bring him up to a total of 5. And I assume we'll see him go for the Heavy Tempest play again.
And to be honest, Todd is in a completely different situation to Yonsu. On Yonsu, Miniraser had a decent economy. Even though he was stuck on 3 bases for a long time, he still had 3 bases worth of income. This game, he's got like 2-ish. Probably more like 1.5 in terms of the drone count. No gas. Todd's got a huge bank. He's expanding everywhere. He's taking his opponent's normal 5th straight away. And he's getting the gas there. He's got all of the possible Stargates in the world. He's currently sitting at, I believe it is, 5 Stargates. So he can remax on nearly anything he wants. He's losing some Zealots, just trying to harass. Pushing and poking and prodding. And Miniraser is just adding in more and more Swarm Hosts. Going to go up to 31 Swarm Hosts now.
Yeah.
And that's all he really can do, because that's his only option to try and trade cost effectively, and somehow...
Oh my god! Oh, we had a Templar drop on the high ground there, picking off the energy on almost all of the Vipers. And a couple of the Vipers even going down there. That really hurts for Miniraser here. Miniraser behind this, I want to point out, doesn't have a Spire. And that means that there is no answer at all, none whatsoever, to these Tempests, as there's only 6 Forecrawlers on the field.
Everything really looking quite good at the moment for Todd. The 6th base has been discovered, though. That's going to take a little bit of damage, but with most of Todd's army there, he should be able to get into a spot where he can defend it. The upgrade, on the upgrade front, though, we are looking at 3-2 up against soon to be, or currently 2-2 for Miniraser, so an advantage there for Todd. But Todd's adding in the shields, the air weapons. He's got the double cyber core, so he can start double air upgrades. And I wouldn't be surprised to see shortly him begin some Tempest production.
Yeah, we have Todd moving on forward here. He may try to get a decent trade, but he's also looking to trade away some of these units because he wants to go more into the Tempest production. A couple of Archons going on down, and now he's just going to retreat on out. +1 air attacks, a good 2/3 of the way down. Another Colossus being abducted. Good trades here for Miniraser. And even some Templar being picked off, and that's never a good thing. Templar are good no matter what composition you have. And, well, we have a total of 7 Colossi still on the map. 5 Tempests are already out. Looking forward to seeing 5 more added to production, ideally. There is more than enough money for Todd. The 6th base is under a bit of harass once again. 11 worker kills down at this 6th base so far. They're the only worker kills that Miniraser's had all game.
Tempest now on the map. The first 5 just popped out. Getting some good damage down. Does reveal them quite early. Following on with this with a good number of Void Rays. But as you said, there is an Aspire currently on the field for Miniraser. So we can't start up any Corruptors, which is really what would be essential to try and deal with. So I actually think, wow, the only anti-air the Miniraser currently has available to him consists of Spore Crawlers, Queens, and that's it. Oh, Infested Terrans as well, if he made some Infested.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, honestly, without the Spire, I think it's only a matter of time. There's 4 more Void Rays that just popped out. Todd's going to make another little push down here over on this 3rd base. Bit of a time warp going down kind of needlessly there. I think he could have actually engaged those Swarm Hosts, but with a lot of Vipers there, he wants to be careful. He doesn't want to lose those Colossi for free at the moment. Where are the Void Rays?
Void Rays are probably just making their way across now.
Yeah. Alright, 7th base going on up now for Todd behind us in the top spawn, in the top location. And no abducts coming out with these Vipers just yet. They have a lot of energy, but Todd is being forced back once again.
Todd's dropping as well. Still into this main base. This Warp Prism harassment going very, very nicely. Going to be looking to try and get some more drone kills here. A couple of Zealots, a couple of Roaches going up against those Zealots there. Todd, though, he is still on top of this. Resources lost. Todd now losing more than Miniraser, which is a credit to Miniraser of keeping this as cost-effective as he can. But those 31 Swarm Hosts are going to be so... well, they're completely ineffective against the Skytoss army Todd is assembling. He's also adding in 3 more Stargates, so if there's any doubt that he wanted to make a lot of air units, 8 Stargates is generally a good indicator.
He went to 8 Stargates last time around as well. I find that kind of interesting. It's a lot of Stargates, more than I would have thought necessary, but CP his go-to, and it will allow him to remax very, very quickly here.
A DT.
Meanwhile,
lone DT getting a good amount of damage down at the natural base. Where is the detection? A Spore Cooler having to waddle over, and an Observer. Overseer rather, on his way, so...
just to be safe.
Just to be safe. Double detection. But the push from Todd now, moving in here towards the 4th base. Getting a good number of Spore Crawler kills. And that's really what actually Todd wants, is because Miniraser has very little minerals. He's only got 10 Spore Crawlers left. And they are quite essential in this composition, so that when the Vipers abduct, the air units can get taken down by the spores. If there aren't spores, it can't work.
Carriers, Maddles, carriers.
I'm so happy. This literally makes my day. I've got a beaming smile on my face.
Alright, now... we have the double Spire being added in at the 37-minute mark. This is too late. Ooh, actually really nice. The Warp Prism was abducted, but he dropped the Templar and managed to get 3 feedbacks off before they died. Now, I think the Spires are personally too late. By the time the Spires are done, 2-2 is going to be almost done for the heir of Todd. And he doesn't really have, Miniraser that is, doesn't really have the money to make anything out of those Spires. So... this is going to be a little tough for him to make work, and I still think that once this air army gets up to a pretty reasonable count, I think it's pretty much there already with 5 Tempests and 4 Void Rays and 2 Carriers almost ready. I think that Todd can just push whenever he wants and kind of win, because as you said, the Swarm Hosts are very difficult to deal with the ground-based army, but with the air, not so much.
The air upgrades though for Todd, even if the double Spires get up, he's got already 1-1. He's soon to have the 2-2 air upgrades finished. He's got +3 shields, so they're going to be 2-2-3 air upgrades. Up against, if there's any Corruptors out for a long time, 0-0, and then 1-1, and then 2-2, by which point Todd will obviously have 3-3. So Todd has got so much time to utilize this air army with every advantage he could hope for. And Miniraser, while maxed out, has got 31 Swarm Hosts down the field, which is so much supply, doing very little the longer this game goes on.
Well, we have another push commencing at the 3rd base once again. This is still an important mining base. There's a lot of minerals, and the gas is still good. Blinding clouds going down on everything, but there's Hydras to try to deal with this, but they don't really have great range. A couple of abducts coming down on some of the air army. Todd, though, still with a supply advantage. More Tempests from the back, shelling away. Actually, those are just the initial 5. None more have been made just yet. Anion Pulse Crystals on the way now as well. Zealots being warped in down at... in the main, actually. They're going to be going for some harass at the natural here. Miniraser is maintaining a relatively neck-and-neck supply count here, but with the bank for Todd, he's still very far ahead. Todd, though, can't quite break the space. It's survived with almost no health. He's going to continue trying to push in. He wants to get the base, but the transfuse is going on down. Going to make it a little harder. Todd being forced on back.
Todd has got so many Zealots here right now. Just a huge number. But not able to take out the Hive as of yet, because most of his army coming back to try and defend that. But with the Swarm Hosts, Todd can't actually push in to take out this hatchery, as you said. And I think Todd ideally wanted that hatch. When it did only have about 40 HP left on it, he could have picked it up, especially when the carrier was abducted. He could have focused it down, but wasn't able to get it in time. So that makes it a bit more tough. A couple of Phoenix going to be added into the composition, or at least preparing to, as Anaheim Pulse Crystals is completing. That could be quite a nice way to deal with Vipers.
Well, 6 carriers will take the total count up to 7 right now. One of them did go down in that engagement. +3 attacks coming on out now for the air of our Protoss players. Still no +3 carapace down for a Miniraser. Just an interesting little observation, but not too surprising that he just doesn't really have any gas. His army is actually worth a good 4,775 gas, but most of that is in the 3,100 gas or 2,900 gas worth of swarm hosts here. So Todd is still looking at a solid spot. I still think he's been in a solid enough spot to win this game for the last 20 minutes or so, but he's just playing it very safe, because if you overcommit once into swarm hosts, you can take a pretty crushing loss and have the game suddenly evened out against you.
As we go on, obviously, the key thing for Todd to look at is trying to lose some of his unnecessary units at the moment. They're the 3 Immortals and 7 Stalkers. He wants to switch them out in a cost-effective way for more air units. That's his primary goal. Finish up the 3-3 upgrades for his air. But once he has those 3-3s, there really is very little reason for him not to try and take out these bases. But he is still containing Miniraser. Todd is up at 7 bases, up against Miniraser's what are now 2 mining bases.
Yeah, and
oh no, DT! A DT's gonna kill it!
Yeah, the DT is gonna get that hatchery if the Queen
does
nice
get
transfused. There we go. It still could be close, though, because the armor on the DT means the Queen is killing this very, very slowly. DT's gonna get it! DT's... Oh, it's
183
points!
That was so
okay.
close.
Transfuse goes down. That's actually really important, because there's still a lot of minerals. He doesn't have this fully saturated, and there's still gas there, too.
Oh, no,
but Zealot's coming in.
More transfuses!
No, there's Queens.
So many transfuses. That was anticlimactic.
End of that hatchery is not realized. Those poor Zealots. Probes coming in. We can make the difference. Nope. Not gonna happen.
Transfuse is so much like duct tape. Like, it fixes something that looks beyond repair. Every time. Like, if you did have duct tape, if Terrans had some kind of transfuse, it would be duct tape on their, like, command centers, and it just, like, patch it up. It'd be covered in it. I don't even know how this is still standing.
Well, we do have another base coming on down here for Miniraser, not for long, as it gets absolutely obliterated by this Colossus Tempest force. Todd continuing to be active on the map here, going for the 3rd base once again by the looks of it. Miniraser's army is only at 184 supply total, with a total of 159 army supply, which is actually a bit more than Todd's army supply. Todd's sitting at 44 probes to the 25 drones of Miniraser.
That is so many
Todd's
carriers.
exhausted a lot of his bank, too.
Yeah, he has. But he's got such a good army in terms of his composition at the moment. Just going to start chipping away. He needs to kill this hatchery, though. Really needs to kill that hatchery. Because with that down, Miniraser's on 1 base worth of economy. And his gas bank is basically non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, it's at 170, 180, 190. He has a little bit of gas income, but not too much. We have another engagement coming down here by the 3rd. This seems to be the main point of contention in this game so far.
Ooh, nice.
Good ducts going off, but the Storm's saving the carriers. The Corruptors can't engage into that just yet. More abducts having to be used on those 2 carriers. They have gone down now. More Storms going down on those Locusts. Todd trying to push on through. There's a lot of Colossi to shred the rest of the Locusts, but actually survive. Supply advantage for Todd still. Massive bank for Todd still. And, well, he is continuing to try to push in. This one Immortal tried to be a hero to pick up the hatchery. Doesn't quite happen, though. Todd slowly but surely making this this fight go into his favor by the looks of it. But more abducts coming on down on those carriers. There are not that many Corruptors, so they're not killing them very fast. They are slowly but surely chipping away at the numbers. Todd, though, with a 30 supply lead, looking like he is ready to push on through.
Those abductors really have been giving Miniraser the chance to trade, have all now been killed. He's making his last stand, but with no gas, he can't even remake them. GG is called, and Todd levels out this series. Penguin, take it away and do the introductions.
In the top right spawn location, taking the last game to even it out at 2-2. Can he make his return to the Premier League? It is our red Protoss player representing Team XMG, Todd. And in the top left spawn location, as our blue Zerg trying to make his Premier League debut, also only one map away, it is our blue Zerg player, Fanatics Miniraser.
As you said, Penguin, tied at 2-2. Winner goes to Premier, loser requalifies next season. For anyone who wasn't paying attention during the introduction, there is a pizza game going. Tweet at Maddles91 and at MYI Penguin, hashtag pizza game, who you think will win this series and what minute it'll end in before the in-game clock gets to 4 minutes. That's simple. And then you win a pizza. We'll send it to you, and you get it whenever you want it. It's cool. It's fun, isn't it, Penguin?
Yep. All good fun. And basically, if anybody's wondering why, where this comes from, we've had a lot of swarm hosts in this series, and once upon a time there was a battle between two heroes, Mana and Firecake, as they were called, and that was a long fight, a long war.
In a galaxy far, far away.
It was called the 100 Years' War, and basically we ran a pizza game during that because we were really bored. So we decided, since there's been swarm hosts and people enjoyed the pizza game, we'll run another pizza game.
It's cool.
And we don't have any cheese coming out, like no super fast cheese, so no super silly ends to our pizza game.
Which is always good. So, Scout coming down now from Miniraser. He's going to see what Todd is doing. Todd is getting a gateway. Todd is getting a cybernetics core. And he's got a gas. So, all normal stuff. Meanwhile, Miniraser, he's getting a gas down. He went pull first into a hatchery, both opening cautiously. And that makes sense, because there is so much on the line. And it's something I have pressed on about, but Premier isn't just about the money and the glory and the millions and millions of fangirls I have no doubt one of these two will get. But it's the WCS points.
Literally millions.
Literally millions.
And they're all actually girls. They're not just men claiming to be girls on the internet.
I'm not too sure about that. But anyway, this is still about WCS points. And Penguin, why don't you explain what that means to these two players?
What WCS means to these two players?
No, what WCS points mean.
Oh. WCS points, on the whole, the biggest thing they are your ticket to BlizzCon. Honestly, the chances of very many non-Koreans being on those top 16 are very, very low. But what many people don't understand or don't know is that a lot of tournaments base their invites on WCS points as well. Specifically, IEM as well. IEM is a tournament that bases their invite system completely on WCS points. So they're more important for just those BlizzCon slots. They are what will help you get into IEM open brackets. They are what will help you get more consideration for other tournaments as well, as they do just show in the world ranking, in the world spectrum, just how good you are. So they are pretty important.
And by going up into Premier, you guarantee yourself a lot more of those points. They kind of grow exponentially the better you do. So getting up into Premier gives you a good chunk more. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's a fair few more. Todd is going to be opening yet again with these 4 gates. 1 gas, so looking to get some zealots out on the map. Unfortunately, his probe that is currently trying to put down a proxy is going to get taken out by these 2 links. Nice little interception there from Miniraser, who is looking to go and take his 3rd.
Indeed, he is. Now, the 3rd base going down at the blue minerals base, not the gold minerals base. Just something that does every now and then happen. People will take even their first expansion at the gold every now and then. Todd, though, with these additional 3 gateways, he's done a build before on Polar Night and Heavy Rain, where he opens with 4-gate Zealots, and then goes into Robo, and then an Immortal all-in follow-up. Believe it or not, guys, that's been pretty good for him. So, I think we may well see that again. Maddles, what do you think?
It's not going to happen this game. The 2nd probe out on the map got taken down, and the pylon was forced to cancel. So, yeah. There won't be any aggression.
Hey, the Immortal follow-up could still happen.
The Immortal follow-up will almost certainly happen. I'm feeling
And
it.
now Stargate.
Yeah, and now Stargate.
Cast a curse. No, we do have Zealots being warped in here, being taken down by the Speedlings. Not a great trade for the Protoss player here for Todd, but not terrible either. It's enough, so he's killed off enough of the Lings that he may well be able to warp in another set of Zealots there. Roach is on the way to deal with that. I don't know if he will warp in Zealots, though, because with Roaches on the map, Miniraser's been religiously going for this for the Roach Warren, which will allow him to shut down Zealot pressure very, very easily here, especially with 5 more Roaches in production, along with a couple that are already out on the map.
This pylon's still being targeted at the moment. Looks like, unfortunately, Miniraser getting a little bit of lag issues again, which is something that he has had in previous games. So hopefully he'll be able to fix that up. But yeah, these roaches are going to be able to easily stop the zealot pressure. But that's where the potential immortals could be coming in. And that's something that we've seen a couple of times from Todd. He doesn't have the robotics facility down as of yet, but no sign of anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I've said this before in this series, but the 4 gates as opposed to the 3 gates, it's a committal that does delay your tech. So that's why the robo hasn't gone down just yet. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it go down within about the next 30 seconds or so, because I don't think he's going to warp in that many more zealots. Because honestly, they're not going to do much against the roaches that are coming out. 8 more links on the way too, just to supplement the ones that are already out. Another pause coming on down. Miniraser still having a bit of frame rate issues, unfortunately for him. Meanwhile, I have 32 unread Twitter notifications. People want our pizza, Maddles.
Pizza is always very good. What are some of those predictions that we've got so far?
Let me check.
That can be your job for the moment. So
actually, wait a minute. I'm going to wait. Okay, it's now the 4 minute. I'm going to refresh the interactions now. And from now on, I will not accept any more predictions.
That is your job. That is your massive job to decide who wins it.
Try to find.
I don't think I can type. It was definitely Miniraser.
Ah, that kind of hurts.
Just trying to make sure people are aware of that. But yeah, we should be getting pretty soon something going on. But we may end up having to remake this game. It will be remade. Or it won't be remade. It will be restored from replay, which of course is a great feature Blizzard added in a long time ago now. And yeah, with that, if you do get a player getting lag issues or things like that, you can just end the game, go into the replay, and start it back up again. So, Penguin, as it stands at the moment, this is still a very equal game. Miniraser is looking to get up his 3rd. It is just secured now. The pylon's still up, though, for Todd, and that's going to be really helpful for him to continue on with this pressure. But, of course, very little else to talk about so far, because we are only 7 minutes 20 through, and this is just a very normal opening. And Todd, has he actually done this every game?
No, he hasn't. He's done it the games that he won, though, which is notable. All right, looks like Miniraser's closed all of his other programs, and we're going to resume and hope this works. He's got one more pause just in case the lags do persist. Looks pretty smooth for me, though, so far.
Yep, looking good for me, too. Couple of zealots now poking up here. Do have the roaches coming through, though, and that should shut this down. The roaches will be easily able, even 3 roaches, easily able to deal with zealots. So mass recall comes out from Todd. He just wants to keep those alive. Robotics facility now in production too. But the 3rd is up for Miniraser. And the games where this has worked very well, or last game when it worked really well for Todd, it was because the 3rd wasn't up and he was able to continually cancel it. There wasn't a production to actually get enough units out in order to defend this. But yeah, not too much else really going on for now. Miniraser is pressing forward. Got a decent number of roaches actually. 7 of them coming on in. Just wanting to get a little confirmation of what's happening. Did he see that robotics facility? Yep, he did.
Well, I'm interested to see just how well Miniraser is able to hold this off, because presumably we will see 3 more gateways go down a bit later after the first Immortal is out, and then probably a push to 7 gateways and an Immortal, and a couple of Immortals. And boom! More gateways coming down in the main. Shocker! 3 more gateways! And immediately 13 drones. So Miniraser gonna be going up to about 49 drones. That's a good drone count. It's not those aren't 14 drones that are sort of like, oh god, he's dead, he made too many drones. They're just him getting up to a good economy where he can start having enough production to probably be able to mount at least a decent defense. Now, 2nd Immortal on the way. Todd gonna be going for a push here. I'm interested to see just how well this goes, because he pulled this off with good force fields and good control on Polar Night, which is a more open map than this. This map is still pretty open, but Polar Night is very open. So he's shown some really sick control so far, and Miniraser's just going to have to try to get the best engagement he possibly can. There's no burrow, there's no tunneling clause this time around.
This is a nice little check as well Todd often goes for, is whether there's an Overlord here, but Miniraser's actually using a Zergling to scout on whether there's a 3rd base or not. So he is still going to get the information without losing the Overlord. He's got good unit production coming through now, a lot more Lings, a couple more Roaches, is going for roach speed too. That won't be done by the time this push hits if Todd continues on over at a good pace. But a Zergling on the watchtower is going to confirm this. A Spine Caller started, and it could all come down to whether Miniraser can hold.
Todd had to go up against a little bit of a counterattack in game number 2, I believe it was, or one of these games. And this time, he's left units at home to deal with that. He's delaying this push that Miniraser is trying to lay down on his natural, losing a couple of sentries, but meanwhile, that means that Miniraser has a lot of supply that's not on the defensive part of the map. Decent force fields going down, allowing him to catch 4 roaches and a couple of lings for free. And Miniraser is not really in the best position with his units here. There's a couple of roaches on the top side that are going to try to spin around, go around the side to pick off those immortals. Another guardian shield going on up, more force fields being utilized. Where are the zealots? We need more warpins. Some stalkers are coming on in. The recall is utilized, and he's just going to be trying to defend is Todd. And now Miniraser actually with a pretty solid defense there. Todd on move command actually, but there we go. Good force fields there to make up for that, and will be able to clean up most of those roaches except for that one on the low ground. Overall, Todd didn't kill the third. Miniraser's going to be very happy at holding his third. He's got Burrow, he's got Tunneling Claws on the way. Todd, though, he didn't lose really any power units either. He kept his Immortals alive, he kept a lot of his Sentries alive too, so he may well just go for round 2.
Adding in a lot more Immortals, so he's got up to 4, gonna get a 5th one down rather than a Warp Prism. If we'd seen another Warp Prism, then actually, then it would have been continuing on. Because Todd had lost the Proxy Pylon, he would have needed that to continue on with the pressure. But with this, he should be taking his Nexus at the 3rd. A Zergling is there, saw the probe, so yeah, Todd is going to definitely take it. He could have potentially faked it then after taking it out, but it's in his interest to try and get that economy going. He should be fine to defend for the moment from Miniraser, even though he's pushing across with quite a lot of stuff. He's got a decent number of Immortals.
He's got a 5th Immortal on the way instead of an Observer. There's no Observers out just yet.
That is a
Tunneling Claws
problem.
is about to finish up, and overall, the Immortals are going to be able to do a lot of damage when those roaches on Burrow. There's also a lot of Zealots in here as well, so being able to bypass those force fields is not going to be as critical as if it was a huge, huge sentry count with Stalker support or something like that, but there's still 10 sentries out, so it is still a relatively large sentry count. And is there an Observer on the way? There's 5 Immortals out. A 6th Immortal is about to pop on out, and the Force Fields aren't going to do anything here. Force Fields are going to be able to help against the Lings, but here come the Roaches moving on in. There's no Observer out here. Maddles is going to be able to unburrow right on top of those Immortals. They are going to start to be focused on down. No Focus Fire coming out, actually, though, and the Roaches are being absolutely shredded here. Miniraser's control faltering just a little bit. Now trying to Focus Fire. One of the Immortals goes down to the front. Another one will go down as well, but Todd is going to hold on with a very good trade.
In terms of resources lost, Miniraser losing about 2,000 more resources than that of the XMG Protoss. Miniraser committed a lot of resources to that. He's only sitting at 50 drones at the moment. That's after a few more have already popped. So, with that said, Todd's 3rd base up and running. He's only a couple of workers behind now, but wave number 2 coming in from the Fnatic Zerg.
I don't think this is going to be able to do too much here. Miniraser, though, is going into Mutas. He's got the Mutas, the Spire out. And with that, he is going to be able to try to lay some hurt down on the main, goes a multi-pronged harass, and this army in the bottom side and the south side would do nothing against Todd's army in a head-up engagement. But if the Mutas can pull him a little bit out of position here, or if this unit, if this army at the bottom can pull him out of position for the Mutas, if only one of those 2 armies is able to do a lot of damage, that's all Miniraser's really looking for here. But Miniraser is committed to doing damage. He's only got 61 workers. He has to do some damage to be able to even out the income and put him in a bit of a lead.
No cannons coming down at the natural or main base as of yet. Todd isn't aware that these Mutalisks are coming. He's going to see the first 2, so they're not all hitting simultaneously. A couple of Stalkers getting warped in. No blink on them, though. No upgrades on them either, so they're not going to fare too well. Todd pulling back a few Stalkers, but importantly, not all of them. And that means that he's still got a decent army. He's actually going for a counter-attack. Okay, so he knows that with these Mutalisks out, there's not going to be too much else there, but that exposes his 3rd Nexus to this small group of units. A couple of Warpins coming through. The Forge is going to go down. And with this many Roaches, we should see the Nexus probably die too.
Oh, he's pulling back. I feel like at this point, Todd should have probably just committed on in, but he is opting to try to pick off this army. And looks like the Nexus may still stand, but losing a good number of workers, 12 in total between the Mutas and the Lings. Losing his upgrade as well. A little bit painful, but overall, Miniraser isn't really that far ahead here. He's about 18 workers ahead, which is very, very nice. But overall, Todd still has a very scary army composition. He's got a lot of sentries with force fields, guardian shields. He is going to be able to pick off a couple of the straggling roaches here that Miniraser's going to try to not leave behind. And yeah, I mean, overall, Miniraser gets out with the majority of his roaches, but he did lose a decent amount there. Todd, though, he's got a pretty solid army right now, but as the Muta count continues to go on up, it's going to be less and less so. And now these 3 Zealots will be able to pick up the 4th base, though, which is a nice pickup for him. We've
also got a couple more Zealots heading up in towards the 3rd. Going to try and get a couple of drone kills. Not going to be successful. The hatchery should now fall. That's a nice little pick-off, as you said. It puts Todd on equal bases with Miniraser. Miniraser, though, he's getting a slowly larger and larger Muta flock. And considering that the Twilight Council still isn't complete, Blink isn't even begun yet, and there's 20 Mutalisks, that's actually quite scary. Photon cannons are coming down at the different various bases just to try and aid in the defense. Stalkers, a good number of Stalkers that is, has to sit up in the main base pretty much constantly to defend. And so Todd's army's already split up.
Well, another thing that's a little scary is that as somebody who plays Mutalisks a lot, I am comfortable in saying that Blink Stalkers are not the answer to Mutalisks. They're great against Mutas in small numbers. As soon as you get up to a critical mass of Mutas, you don't care about Stalkers at all, especially not Stalkers with very, very low upgrades. So I think that this is going to be very, very difficult for Todd without Phoenixes. I honestly feel like Miniraser may be able to take this pretty convincingly. The Muta is killing the Stalkers, proving my point. These Stalkers are doing nothing against those Mutalisks, just getting absolutely shredded. The rest of the army coming in single file, as these Mutas may just win the game here, Maddles.
They're taking down a lot of the Stalkers. The Mothership Core dies too, but it is able to get the Photon Overcharge down first. One Immortal sitting there comfortably. The Warpins were used offensively by Todd to go for some more War Prism harassment with those Zealots. Guardian Shield active by the Sentries, just aiding the trades as much as possible. But Todd now really falling behind in supply. He's about a 70 supply disadvantage to his opponent, and yet again the Mothership Core will die.
Yeah, the cannon's just not able to do the damage necessary to the Mutas. Miniraser still maxed out. 20 Mutas, 5 more in production, plus 2 halfway done. A ton of ground army that's also moving across the map right now. Todd is just not with an answer to this. He doesn't really know what to do against these Mutas. He doesn't have a Stargate. He doesn't have Blink done yet. It's still not quite finished, which means that the Stalkers are not even going to be able to engage well against the Roach Ling here. And the army is just so spread out for Todd. The Mutas moving into the natural, picking off all of the army that's there. Under 100 supply now is Todd. Miniraser still sitting at 175, trying to push on forward with this ground army. Most of it's actually just not doing all too much. Todd with one last push forward with almost no anti-air. The Mutas could just fly back and clean that on up. Todd looking down and out here, down over 100 supply. And, well, unfortunate time for lag, but honestly, I think the game is just about over.
Yeah, Todd, he's down to 77 supply, up against 183. Up against Miniraser. Todd is not in the greatest spot at the moment.
Well, here we go. Last little push coming on into the base at the bottom left. This base should go down, but honestly, there's just nothing at home to deal with this. Miniraser are going to be able to deal with all of these cannons quite easily. There's 2 Stalkers in there. GG, well played, congratulations, and good luck in Premier. Coming out from Todd.